Welcome to Around the Point, the Waypoint debate show where you, the community, send in your questions for us to debate, and also donate money to the National Network of Abortion Funds. We've already raised like almost $20,000. We're really nice. Like during this segment, we got $20,000. But also while we do that, Kato, here's our first topic from the community. Alex Navarro. Alex Navarro is here to debate with Rob Zachney.
Yes, I am here. Hello, I'm here to talk. Hi.
Topic number one. I wish I had flashcards. Overground or under? Who could say Alex pro overground, underground, Rob pro overground? What say you?
Who wants to start?
Rob?
Look, I like being above things. I like being above the earth. I go overground.
The thing is, the underground is where all the cool shit comes from.
Spoken like someone from Boston. I should have expected that from the likes of you. You were tainted by your association with that place. Up in northern Massachusetts, we don't have an underground. We live above the ground.
I'm from California.
You were in Boston for a minute, though.
Like a year and a half, yeah, I guess.
Was that short?
Yeah.
You carry yourself like a Bostonian.
That's the meanest thing anyone's ever said to me.
I know.
Ding, 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 ding.
What's next?
Alex Patrick.
All right, next up. Oh, I'm hearing in my ear is Alex and Patrick. What's the topic? VAR, good or bad? Who could say? What's VAR? What the fuck? That's the audio thing, right?
No.
No.
Nope.
VAR, what is it good for?
What are you
It's
talking?
instant replay in soccer.
Oh, it's soccer. That sucks.
On to the next topic.
You were good! You were good!
On to the next
I don't
topic.
care. I'm telling the truth here. I'm a truth teller.
Settle. On to the next topic. We don't need a whole minute. Kato, what's up next?
Star Wars. It's the myth for our time. Like, the Civil War has no lessons for us today.
Oh, why did I get the Civil War? But the Civil War, I mean, better. I don't. That's like better until like a lot of bad things happen. But like on the scale,
the liberation of an enslaved people.
On the scale of death, Star Wars, whole planet's gone. Civil War, not a whole planet. So like better. Not sure what we mean by
The
better.
stakes of our present crisis are planetary. Get with the moment. Star Wars.
All right, next topic. Rob beat me. I was taken aback by giving Civil War.
Hold on, sorry. I thought you were gonna go a full minute on
No,
this.
no.
You're asking a lot of us here.
Here we go.
Patrick got stun locked. It's true.
This is the part they don't show you on ESPN. Mm-hmm. What do we got? Me and
Next
Rob?
up.
Okay.
Alex, Rob.
No, yeah.
What? Hot, hot or cold?
Oh, hot, baby. Hot. Gotta get you. Do you like being cold? Do you like being frozen to your bone? Absolutely not. What you like is warmth. We are warm-blooded creatures. We are not snakes.
We come from the cold. The cold is the truth that awaits us. We must embrace the cold. Also, you don't have to put on a sweater.
Snakes.
They should be crushed.
All right.
Let's take a break. This is Around the Point is brought to you by DraftKings. Like we, $100 up to a $300 match. If you have a problem,
Only bet what you can afford to lose.
Please don't gamble on this, for God's sakes.
Ready?
yeah.
That's not how you spell Werner Herzog. I'm sorry.
Isn't he
I'm sorry. Is
isn't he
Herzog
a quarter-
forgotten? Is he Yakko, Wacko, Dot, and Warner and Herzog?
John Boyce is a documentarian of our time, is able to translate the often impenetrable rules of sports to the broader populace to explain to them what is interesting about watching people who we cannot relate to physically, mentally, egotistically, these giants of our age.
Yeah.
And then also like taking a bad team, making them seem interesting. John Boyce is just, every time I click, I hit play, I watch it. But also, Warner Herzog has a player.
Can Werner Herzog take Bama to another title?
I don't know. Here's the thing, though. You make some really salient points, and I agree with you on a lot of them. Here's the thing. Werner Herzog got shot during a goddamn segment and kept rolling. Do you think John Boyce could wrangle Klaus Kinski?
Too much of a coward to show us that guy getting mauled by the bear, though.
He protected us.
John Boyce doesn't protect me from from finding a very bad team interesting. John Boyce is out here making sure I understand how sports works.
Yeah, I know it was from a BB gun, okay? And you know what? If you shot John Boyce with a BB gun, he would cry. Burner did not cry.
Next topic, GIF or GIF? Who could say it? Rob?
I don't know who's on which side here.
I'm really...
You have to pick one.
I'm choosing GIF.
Make your case.
It's how people say it. Language is not about what is written down by the people who made up the word. It is by the people and how they adopt it, how they deploy it, how it's culturally assimilated into the world. And that's what GIF is. Fuck GIF.
The person who created the file format embraced GIF. It is an acronym. It is GIF. GIF is perfectly acceptable.
The great Paulo says it's graphics, not jaffics.
Why shouldn't it be, though?
Don't have to answer that. That's on the next show. Next topic, Kato.
I am the wrong... You've got to reverse this. You got to reverse this one. This is the wrong...
Kato, are you able to just flip it in a very
I
awkward
literally
way?
wore shorts on QVC
There-
one time.
What?
I did. I did
QVC
that.
is what I'm thinking of, right?
Yeah, the Home Shopping Network.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I wore shorts.
Sorry.
Joan Rivers remarked upon them.
Why are we on QVC?
Beatles rock band.
You don't know about this? This is like a very famous moment in Alex Navarro
Anyway,
history.
shorts are like pants, except your legs can breathe.
Oh, it got flipped. Thank God. Okay. Look, sometimes there's a point in your life when you have to put on your big boy pants. And they're called pants, not shorts. Short pants are pants for children. Adults wear pants.
See, I don't agree with that. Big boy pants still implies boy. Adults wear shorts because they understand leisure.
You can be perfectly comfortable in a nice, comfy pair of pants. Witness sweatpants.
Yeah, if you want to live in a leg prison.
Next topic, Kato.
Hold on, 1 second. Sorry, this one was a long one.
Oh boy. Oh God.
It's fine. God damn it.
You want to debate the finer points of leg prisons?
Jorts and cutoffs.
Yes.
Which
It's bamboo grass. Who can say it?
Well, it says right there what you're supposed to agree to.
It's tree. I mean, look, grass is short. Now, granted, I guess grass could get taller and then be qualified as bamboo. Bamboo seems like it'd be thicker, but like at a certain point, like if grass got tall enough, I feel it's disqualified from being grass. Does that help my argument on his bamboo grass? No, but I did say a couple of things about grass for a couple of minutes on a debate show. It doesn't matter what you say, you just fill that time and then you pass it off to the other person.
I always thought bamboo was a tree.
Damn.
wow, I guess that's a win. I guess that's over.
I don't even know how to argue against that. I don't know what grass is.
It is evident. If you're talking about what is the opposite of fire, what is fire's natural enemy? Its mortal enemy. It is water. Not the absence of fire, it is water.
Is
this like a Schrodinger's fire thing? Does the fire exist and not exist at the same time?
It's true. If my hand burns, the fire is there. If my hand does not burn, there is no fire.
No, it's because water got there first. Next topic.
He's right.
We're really making kind of work overdrive.
No, I know. This is tough.
You can't. The audience can't hear all the clicking.
Oh, come on! Really? All right, fine. I'll give this a shot.
Not the movie series.
The concept.
The concept.
The concept.
No, I know what it means. I don't know, man. Sometimes you just got to do some murders. I don't fucking know.
I think it is highly irresponsible to base your entire concept of society on making it legal for one night only to execute whatever depraved desires you have you've been keeping bottled up inside.
You're right. It should be illegal year round. Fuck it. I don't know.
Controller versus mouse and keyboard. Who could say?
Controllers are ergonomic. They fit in your hand nicely. Fuck a mouse. Fuck keyboards.
Damn.
I play shooters. I like to win. Mouse and keyboard.
You play garbage for nerds. Put a controller in your hand. It feels nice. Plastic molded to the shape of your hand. They know what they're doing. Keyboards are for fucking typists.
You can make a keyboard feel like anything. Let me tell you about the amazing world of mechanical keyboards. Is there any equivalent for controllers? No.
Sometimes you'll try to build one for the better part of a year.
But
Mechanical
also there are
keyboards?
places you can just order mechanical keyboards that are to your liking.
You know what else you can order? Controllers. They feel good. They're not mechanical. I mean, they kind of are, but they're not the same. It's fine. They got sticks.
Damn, good point. Next topic. RTS versus TBS.
Real-time strategy game versus the Turner Broadcasting System. Actually, it's a very abstruse comparison.
Is it though?
I'm mad I
mean,
didn't get this one.
You're just Alex. Take it away.
The Superstation. Everything starts on the 5 and the 35. It's beautiful. You want to watch some Braves baseball? Of course you don't, but you can.
Who would watch Braves baseball when you can watch StarCraft? The game of kings, of gods among us. It is the esport of the future. In 20 years' time, nobody's going to be watching baseball, but everyone's going to be watching Brood War. Book it.
No, you're pretty right. You're actually right about that. Fuck baseball, but here's the thing. TNT Rampage, it's fucking beautiful. AEW, it's all elite. I don't know.
Kyle, click.
Yeah, I'm go home. I'm tight.
I know, but you have to keep yelling.
Wait,
Yeah.
wait, was this segment dependent on Kato typing?
Yes, it was.
No! No! Abort! Abort!
Oh, here we go.
Well,
Oh,
that's
here
what
we
we're trying
go.
to do. We're raising money for the National Network of Abortion Funds.
Yes,
And
we are.
If you've enjoyed this segment, start
Donate.
donating.
I'll yell about whatever you want if you donate.
We missed the 33 segment.
Yeah.
Donate now. We'll read those things.
Donate on the 35. I don't give a shit. Superstation. What? Ultra wide monitor? Yeah, it's one monitor. There's no divot in the screens. That's great. It's big. It's around you. I love it.
It's like a UT monitor. What the hell's a UT monitor? A dual monitor.
Dual monitor.
Dual monitors. Flexible. Better for streaming. You can put one thing full screen, which games understand. They don't understand to create the right size window on an ultra wide, but everyone understands dual monitors. Plus, you can divide them. You can have one over on your right, one over on your left, and look through the middle at some sort of beautiful piece of art or a blank wall. The world's your oyster with dual monitors, and they're the little clamshell that opens up to reveal it.
You know what takes up resources on your computer? Having to plug in 2 goddamn monitors. Plug in one at a time. One monitor. One wide monitor goes around your face. How wide's your monitor? When it sits around your face, it's around your face.
Next topic. I think we're almost done.
Yeah, this is the second to last.
Okay.
Oh, there's, yeah.
I can't believe I made you defend a dual monitor
Oh,
setup.
here we go.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Oh, come on!
This will go well.
Look, are the Carolina Panthers any good? No. Is a Panther?
Is that a tank?
That's a tank. That's a tank.
But honestly,
the Panthers are tanking.
imagine-
much
okay.
like
Yes, you're right. There
the
we go.
Panther tank is tanking out there doing its thing. Knows it's a tank, being a tank out there saying, Sherman, I'm P is before S in the alphabet. Thus, I win.
Look, the Sherman tank was like revolutionary for its time. It served credibly in all theaters, in all terrain, and there were thousands and thousands of them. Panthers took forever. They broke down all the time. Shermans, you could repair them. Of course, sometimes you had to wash a burned up crew out of them, but you could repair them afterwards and put new people in. And that's what made the Sherman tank, and that's what helped America win the war. That and a lot of Soviet troops.
When you think about the words Panther and Sherman, which one sounds sexier? Panther, Sherman, Panther, Sherman. I think a Panther's sexy.
Okay, but what about TV's The Critic, Jay Sherman?
Oh, wow.
Oh. Yeah, I'd fuck him.
Oh, God. All right, well, that's the end of that segment. You're welcome, Natalie Watson, who had the strong take of Adam Sandler is surprisingly sexy earlier. All right,
He's not an unhandsome man. I don't know. I ain't too good for it.
All right, let's move our chairs over to a more enjoyable format.
Okay, we're gonna stretch around the table here.
We're gonna move.
All right.
We're gonna move around.
Let's
the
return to
table.
a format we understand.
All right, let's do an actual podcast. How about that?
That was
a lot of
good,
fun.
though. Thank you, Evan, for being a good sport.
I was trying to avoid just launching into a Stephen A. Smith impression, and that is what came. Apparently, Knife Show is what came out. So here we are.
All right. Well, now hold on. Let me get my cord
Now we are
situated
serious podcasters.
properly. Yeah. Okay. So I don't. Well, that'll probably still work in an audio format. Maybe we'll put it at the end of the podcast if people want to listen to that. But yeah, now we're gonna actually record. Oh, and shout outs to
Look at you
everyone.
showing off your kicks there. Look at everyone looking at your sneakers.
Yeah.
I mean, they're nice. They're really nice.
They are very nice. Where did you get those?
That one was the GOAT.
Goat.
Yeah, it's the
Are you just
aftermarket-
saying words?
No, it's the aftermarket clearinghouse for
Okay.
tons of sneakers. It sucks.
All right.
Shout out to the community for sending in. We pulled all those. Well, except for the Adam Sandler one, I added that at the last second as it came to me. But all the Waypoint community submitted a bunch of those topics. That was delightful, and we appreciate everyone being patient as we figured out how to yell louder increasingly over time. And I just realized that Rob and Alex are really good at it, and probably just should have just had them do it the entire time.
You're good at it too. Don't sell yourself short. Come on now. You're a good yeller.
You got some screwballs that were
Yeah.
tough to chase.
Yeah. Well, I picked that, so that's my own undoing. So okay, all right. Well, we're gonna do a podcast. We're gonna do the new sports. Is this episode 4? I think it's episode 4.
You guys have a sports podcast.
Hey everyone, welcome to Waypoint's new sports podcast and sports adjacent podcast that sets out to disprove the notion that people with lives dedicated to pixels jumping across the screen can also be unhealthily interested in what nerds condescendingly refer to as sports ball every Super Bowl. This week, as you already know if you're watching this on twitch.tv/Waypoint, we're joined by Nextlander's Alex Navarro.
Hi,
Alex.
Thanks for having me.
But unfortunately, Rob, I start off every episode with
boy.
the same question. Are the Bears back?
I'll be honest. I'm having trouble
Watching
figuring
the
out
games?
what I'm seeing. But like to me, it feels like the Bears are lost actually in a way that I have rarely seen. Mind you, crucial caveat: I skipped the John Fox years. I tuned those out.
They didn't happen.
Right. Just I don't like what happened those years. Nobody knows. I don't think John Fox knew, which I think was part of the issue.
I'm not sure John Fox knows where he is right now.
I'm not sure he knew where he was. But I will say at this point in the season, we're a long way from our first episode where we did on this.
Boy, we ran through the schedule and like W. And that's granted, we didn't. It's not like we gave them 10 wins, but I think we got to like 7 or 8. And
We got them to 9, bro.
All right.
And I think we might not get past the 2 that we have.
Oh boy.
So the thing that is so interesting about watching this team right now
Is that the word you want to use?
Well, because usually when a team is in clear tank and rebuild mode, where you've gotten rid of expensive contracts, you're taking out a bunch of dead money, and you're just waiting to have a high draft pick the next year, you don't normally have a young quarterback being dragged through that process. They are usually the result of the beginning of that process. And so having a team that is purposely awful to ensure a draft pick is not usually assigned then probably the best quarterback prospect the Chicago Bears have ever had, regardless of whether Justin Fields
In my
turns out.
lifetime, absolutely.
Yes. Whether he turns out to be a decent quarterback on the Bears or maybe, thank God, somewhere else. It is rare to watch a team set someone up purposely for failure because that is the point, so they can get to the other side. And that makes watching him get the shit beat out of him every single week, not knowing, is he good? Is he bad? Is the team bad? Well, I know the team's bad.
Yeah.
But that you can't separate, is this person, because look, so many quarterbacks bust. You go through the first round draft picks of quarterbacks in the last 10 years, more often than not, they turn into if they're lucky, a backup quarterback, or they flame out entirely. And that's more often than not. We've been spoiled the last couple of years with Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, although Josh Allen is very easy to forget, was considered a bust for his first 2 years until he took like a wild leap the quarterbacks don't do. So, I don't know. It just makes it's different in the past when the Bears are bad or rebuilding, or a team is bad and rebuilding, you can fully tune them out because there's nothing to watch, or it's just background noise. It's weird where I still want to watch this team because I want to see this player to see what they can and cannot do, and yet everything around them is clearly like CFL talent.
But here's the thing that I'm finding tough to watch. And I'm sure, like, you watching as someone without investment in this, they're just tough games to watch because it's not very good.
Yeah.
I'm a sicko, is the thing. I watch bad football.
Did you also
and I
like the
don't
dog
unplug.
shit Thursday night game
Yes.
from 2 weeks ago? That was legendary.
Yes.
Yes.
But the thing that I'm finding like increasingly tough to watch about what's going on with Justin Fields is that guy is a competitor and he's an incredible athlete, and you see flashes of like real greatness there.
Yep.
And I don't know if they're not pocket passer, like making like the reads like greatness. I think that's still very much a tool set that's to be proven. But the thing I do not like to see is this dude wants to be winning now, and he is instead like physically getting like the shit knocked out of him, and his team is losing one heartbreaker after another. Like, is the weird thing is, as bad as the Bears are, and they are bad, it is the nature of the types of teams they're playing, which are also a lot of mediocre teams. The Bears would, like, with a few lucky bounces, are probably a 5-1 team or a 4-2 team. And that's the sort of, like, it's these low-scoring games where, like, Justin Fields is getting beat up and also seems to be, like, getting
doing
less
just enough.
Yes, but also having a lot of moments where he comes up short. And I'm like, I don't know what this does, because it's such a psychological position, the quarterback position. I don't know what this does to have someone be at this deep end of the pool, and the pool is filled with, like, flotsam.
I mean, the most recent game, he had got a yoga instructor to help him with his breathing, and they panned over after a particularly bad...
I was about to bring this up.
Right, like 3 and out, or it was one of, like, against the Commanders, they had multiple times where they're literally within the end zone by 5 yards, and they would cut to him when it didn't work out, and he is clearly going through, like, meaningful breathing techniques, and it's, like, easy to joke about, but, like, I think speaks to Rob, what Rob is illustrating is, like, watching a person sort of, like, lose their mind while they are trying to, like, play the most violent sport, the most, like, psychologically demanding sport for an individual player that is still a team sport.
I genuinely think that shot of him doing the, like, breathing techniques on the sideline and Al Michaels joking about how he's a vegan and, like, you're in Chicago, eat a porterhouse or something, is just, like, is the perfect tragic illustration of why Justin Fields is in the worst possible place in NFL football right now.
Yes.
I take no pleasure in the misery of the Bears. They are not a franchise I have any real animus toward, but what animus I do have has been the fact that they have just been dog shit boring for years. Years and years. Even when they were successful, they were one of the most boring teams to watch in all of NFL football. And to bring in a person like Justin Fields, who is in college was an extremely exciting player and has shown flashes of that, and then surround him with a running back and no one else is one of the most miserable things I have bore witness to in recent NFL football. And there's been a lot of miserable things in recent NFL football. There are like 5 good teams in all of the NFL right now.
And they're all in the AFC.
Yeah. None of them are playing.
Other than Austin Walker's Eagles, who may be slightly fraudulent but are legitimately good.
Well, I mean, the fact that they're in a division where they are 6-0, but the teams below them are 5-1 and 4-2, right?
I think so, yes.
And it's the Cowboys and the Giants.
Yes.
That's how you know the fraud detection is going off. Because if the Giants are 5-1, and I'm not saying the Giants have been awful. Like,
they've been interesting.
They've been interesting enough to watch, but like they're not doing anything that is like exciting or unusual or like above competent, really. It's just that they are doing more competent things than other teams are, and that's the best you're going to get from a lot of that division is raging competence.
So that's where we're at, Rob. We probably won't do it this week. Maybe on the next podcast, we're going to have to do that reevaluation of the schedule. And it's going to be a real sobering, like...
Look deep into the void.
Yeah, time to start watching rugby instead of talking about football. But today, I before we get into some other stuff, like there's some interesting NFL news about Daniel Snyder and stuff like that, and I want to get into that. But I don't know, like Alex, when you think about sports, I don't. What is your relationship to like sports broadly? Like, where does it start?
Mine is really weird. Like, I liked sports a lot as a younger kid. I kind of started with baseball.
Playing, watching.
I did Little League baseball. I did like Boys and Girls Club basketball for a bunch of years when I was in like elementary school. My dad played basketball like in college, not very well. I mean, he played for William & Mary, for God's sakes. Like, that's not much of anything. But he was, he showed me the game, taught it to me, and I kind of enjoyed it. And I kind of went for a long period where I just wasn't that interested in watching or paying attention to sports through most of my teenage years because I was too into like angry music and being brooding and all that shit. So like sports kind of went off to the side. And then I got a job as a tester at Visual Concepts.
Oh, all right. And they're making Madden at this point, or
no? This is like 2K. This is back when they were doing 2K.
Oh, this is the NFL 2K games.
The 2K guys,
yes,
yeah. So they were making NFL, they were making NHL. Well, Treyarch was making NHL, but they were testing it in house.
Right.
They made NBA, and so I worked on all those games for the 2003
Dreamcast era, right?
Yes, it's the 2K3 ones are the ones I all worked on.
Okay.
And I got that job through a friend, and I kind of bullshitted my way into it by saying, "Yeah, I love sports." And the thing is, I did play some sports video games, but I wasn't really like neck deep in it. And that year, I spent working there before they laid me off, as they did half the QA department at the end of every year.
As part of like the annual turnover, like we'll hire you back when we need you.
Well, all the games came out in October, so I guess we'll see you in February, maybe if we call you. It's fine. I understand that's the nature of the gig. You know,
still.
It was never like you're promised a full-time thing. But that was also right before I went to go work at GameSpot. And I remember I told him, I was like, yeah, I think I'm going to get a job at GameSpot. And I was like, yeah, sure you fucking are. And then I got the call to come back, and I already accepted the job at GameSpot.
Oh, really?
And the guy on the phone was like, oh.
It was the same guy?
Oh, you weren't lying.
Oh, that rules.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that was fun. But so that year got me kind of paying attention to sports again. And so I worked on NHL, NBA, and NFL. And I really started watching and paying attention again because...
Was that part, like, I'm curious, like, how many, like, I have to imagine that people that work on sports games are interested in sports, but I feel like that's not necessarily the case. Like, did you get that sense there, like, how much was, like, I fucking love sports and I want to work on sports video games, but I feel like that overlap may not always be true.
I feel like all the QA leads were very big sports people. Some of the like rank and file folks were not as much, but they were just there because it's a video game testing job and it's in the North Bay, so it's close by. And the only other game they had in the testing department at that time, because it was the only other game Sega had on the slate at that point, was the 2002 Toe Jam and Earl game, which I did not have to work on, thankfully. But yeah, like most of the people there were at least interested enough. And that was also okay, so here's the dark secret about me, and it's not even really much of a secret because there's literally footage of me wearing the jersey. When I was a kid, I liked football, but I hated the Washington team, which was geographically the closest one to me. And that was even before I understood the degree of racism that was in the name. I just really did not care for them at all.
Okay.
Southern Virginia, Carolina teams did not exist at that point, so I had nothing else to fall back on. And I was just trying to find a team to attach myself to. And somewhere along the way, I think I saw the stupid orange uniform and said, those look cool, and I got into the Patriots.
Okay, so Rob and I were talking about this, in which, because what we, like on this podcast, we've talked a lot about, like Rob and I both come from generational fandom, and which is itself connected to regional fandom. And it's very interesting that you come from, like, I need to find, because we've talked about what do you do when you want to find a team? Like, how do you determine that? Like, what's the hierarchy? Like, can you pick the best team? And so we were talking about some of this before you came on, and I was like, for some reason I associate Alex with the Patriots, but I cannot remember if that is he was a fan of them at some point, or was just like, oh right, he worked at Harmonix, like he was in Boston, so he was just around a lot of shithead Boston sports people all the time. And so I couldn't remember where exactly that came together. So that is fascinating that eventually you came to that somewhat naturally.
And I took a long break from football because the Patriots were terrible for most of the time that I was interested in them. That was like, even like right before the Bledsoe era really kicked off. And the thing that brought me back was that Super Bowl and that season where like I did not go into, like a friend of mine was a huge football fan. He was like, you should watch the Patriots again. Like this Tom Brady guy, he's something. And I'm like, yeah, right, okay, sure. And
That's when like they signed Bledsoe to a huge contract.
Yes.
And then
He got
Belichick basically immediately he gets hurt. Brady comes in, is pretty good, and he's like, well, we're done with that, even though we just guaranteed him like $100 million.
Yeah, and he got traded, and that was like I like Drew Bledsoe, but like in the end, obviously they made the right decision. But yeah, so I watched that Brady season starting about the halfway point and kind of watched the rest of it and was like, oh wow, there's actually something here. And this was obviously a long time before we kind of knew what the nature of the Patriots eventually would go on to be, the cheating scandals, the MAGA shit, like all that stuff. And honestly, like that was the moment where I unplugged. When I saw the MAGA hat in Brady's locker and all that dumb stuff with like Trump reading Belichick's love letter and all that stuff.
So this is the last I remember like sincerely talking to you about this. Was like about when this stuff was happening.
I just said, you know what? I have no geographical ties to this. I don't have like a long history with this team. If these people are shitheads, then why do I fucking care? Honestly. Like when I grew up in the Bay Area, I was aware of the 49ers. I kind of liked them. I watched local baseball. But just like I've moved around enough as a kid and as an adult that I never found like a geographical anchor team to hold on to. And so I just kind of held on to some old fandoms for a long time, and then eventually those kind of dissipated. And now I am like basically an itinerant fan. Like I enjoy watching the games, well, less so these days, but when football is good, I love watching football. When basketball is even middling, I generally like watching basketball. I got into hockey when I was testing, and I kind of just never shook it loose. And so I watch more hockey than probably is reasonable. Baseball is the one that kind of never really came back, but I do watch it during the playoffs at least because that can be exciting. But yeah, like I watch the teams I think are interesting. I follow them. I like the players that I think are interesting. Like at this point, it's basically Mahomes, Allen, and Lamar Jackson. Like I will watch any of those three teams play at any point against any team. Everything else is just kind of background noise.
That's interesting because I view everything through the lens of like, what we find ourselves, like to relate this to the Bears, is like, Rob and I, we find ourselves where this team is not interesting to watch. And so then it's like, are you watching it because you like the sport, or are you watching it because you are interested in what your team is doing relative to the sport?
Well, here's the thing. I'm not sure they're not interesting to watch. The games...
I am.
The games aren't fun, I'll say that, but there are moments, like, the flashes you see from, like, it's weird, like, you have a really exciting player at the center of that we don't know what's going to be. It's weird, like, seeing something's taking shape there. I hope it's good. I hope it's not just going to be a huge missed opportunity. But, like, there are just enough flashes in the Bears where I'm like, if this is a rebuild phase, there's some what look like decent foundations when you tear the thing down. But it does, like, which is a different place than, like, if you want to talk about a team that I think is, like, deeply not interesting to watch to the point of, like, being unwatchable, it is the Denver Broncos right now. A team that, like, honestly, like, in some ways, the Broncos are in that, almost like Ryan Poles mode of, like, we're going to make a big swing and we're going to do something that's going to shake up the league and, like, change our trajectory as a franchise. And I think it did, but not for the better.
The Bears gave a grandfather offer to the Seahawks last season in which they were this close to acquiring Russell Wilson, and Russell Wilson wanted to come to the Bears, and Pete Carroll and John Schneider, I think was their GM, like said, no, there is a world. That's us. That's us.
And that would be the Bears being all the way back. Like, they went out and they did it. They got their marquee franchise star, and you get Russell Wilson, like, lobbing it, 5 yards under.
Yes.
Yeah.
I see where you're coming from, and I sort of agree with you, though I actually find the dissolution of the Broncos slightly more interesting than some of the other teams that are falling the fuck apart.
There's an interesting narrative to how they're falling apart.
There is, because the whole thing, ever since Peyton Manning limped out of there, was we got to get a quarterback. And they've tried multiple times and tried a variety of extremely ineffective measures to get that to happen.
Trevor Siemian, Drew Lock.
Yeah. They tried all this shit, and none of it worked. Like
Teddy Bridgewater as part of, like,
a
his
fan
nine
favorite, like
different...
Teddy Bridgewater.
I love Teddy Bridgewater, like, especially the way that guy's knees died in the most
I have
excruciating
nothing
way
but love
possible.
for that man, but, like, obviously it wasn't going to work there, and this was the first real... I mean, look, and I think there's a little bit of exposing Russell here as well, but it is also like, okay, You went out and got the best available big quarterback that was out there, that was trade bait, that was available, and you are doing literally the same shit you did with Teddy Bridgewater and Drew Lock. You are doing nothing. And there is something truly fascinating about the fact that whatever is running through there that is messing up the whole system there, because it's not like they don't have receivers. It's not like they don't have a defense. They have all these pieces that should be good, unlike the Bears, who have 2 pieces and 51 things that are just kind of hanging on for dear life. The Broncos should, by all accounts, be good, and they are flying in the face of reason by not being good, and that is interesting to me.
Well, and especially because the Broncos are this rare case where it's hard to like the coaches like Nathaniel Hackett is like by all objective measures like one of the worst coaches we have seen in a long time.
I love how much he sucks.
Well, exactly, and that like it's interesting to watch. Like now they're saying like Russell Wilson has been like a shoulder injury and a hamstring, and like that might all be true, right? Like, but all these players,
he's in his mid-30s. Of course, that's
but
probably
all
true.
these players are always playing with unsaid injuries that like don't make it to the injury report because if they're not visible, we're not going to talk about it.
Right.
And so you'll get to the end of the season, and all sorts of players will be like, oh yeah, my leg was fucked up for 6 weeks or whatever. But it's so that may be true, but you have a coach who is undeniably awful, dragging their team down with them, and so it makes every week. Like, I will watch every Broncos game because I just don't know what's going to happen.
That's sickos football right there.
And that Thursday night game a couple weeks ago where the Broncos and the Colts were just dragging out just some of the ugliest football you have ever seen, well, until the Bears were on the next Thursday.
Talk about a corpse playing the quarterback position. Poor Matt Ryan.
But then I had watched an episode of TV with my wife, was not watching the Thursday night game because I checked the score and was like, well, this seems deeply uninteresting. Like I'm not even gonna like put it on the iPad in the corner. Like I'm just not gonna watch it. She goes to bed. All of a sudden I check in and then I like immediately like send a DM to Rob and Austin and like our like sports chat and was just like, hey, okay.
Well, because do you start seeing the tweets about nihilist Al Michaels?
Yes.
And like I was like, okay, hold on, I need to see what's going on.
Like the announcers are losing their mind watching the most boring, awful game imaginable, and then it stretches into fucking overtime. And it was just like everyone was rooting for it. Overtime.
Well, and it does that because
Hackett
Hackett fucks up again with clock management and play calling. And so you get Russell reenacting the end of that Super Bowl, throwing that pick
the runner pass play, yeah.
Yeah, so like it had everything.
Yes.
I'm just going to say it, though. Like, as bad as that game was, and it was very bad. Like, I was out of town last week, and I was up in a cabin, and we were watching a bunch of, just like random horror movies and other junk. And, we were having a nice time. Like, my partner was just like, yeah, no, whatever. Like, even the bad movies. Like, we watched the goddamn Rob Zombie Monsters movie. Like, that's...
Is that...
It's not good, but it's earnest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's how I would put it. It's like, I appreciate the spirit of it, if nothing else.
All right.
But so we watched even that, and, like, she's like, this is not good, but she didn't really complain. On Thursday, we kind of ran out of movies, and I was like, you know what? I want to see what's going on with this Bears Commanders game. We watched a little of that, and within about 20 minutes, she's like, why in the fuck are you watching this? Because it is futility writ large. Yeah, this is pure degenerate football. There is nothing here. There is a sucking void at the 50-yard line of this game.
There's something beautiful about watching some people who are undeniably, even at their worst, so much more extraordinarily talented than you are. And they're out there playing.
I know you're not talking about Carson Wentz.
No.
Okay.
But generally speaking, like, these people, as bad as you're watching, like, some of the worst athletes that end up playing in the NFL, they're more talented at this than you would ever be if you dedicated your whole life to it.
Sure.
And watching them forced to play it out poorly over and over again until that timer hits 0. That's where, like, the true sicko mode comes in. Is like, I just need. It's like a car. It's the car crash syndrome. Like, I just need to see it.
Yeah.
Like, I just need to see where this ends up.
I would argue that game was worse in a way. Like, there were more points scored, there were actual touchdowns, but the absolute futility of what they were doing to Justin Fields throughout that game, the just sheer ineptitude, like the backing ass words into winning the Commanders did in that game. It was pathetic.
Which still
to
required
watch.
a muffed kick.
Yes.
Recovered at like the 2. Otherwise, they still don't win that game, despite all the other stuff that happens with the Bears.
Yes.
Like, they could not put together a drive longer than 2 yards.
No, it was pathetic. And
Yeah.
I, as someone who is a David Montgomery owner in fantasy football, what the hell are you people doing? I mean, he's like the only player there that's performing, but still.
Khalil Herbert, their other running back they drafted a year or two ago, was pretty good, and he's taken a lot of touches from David.
Well, no,
Montgomery.
it's fine. Like, he's my second running back. It's okay. I have Leonard Fournette. It's okay. But still.
One thing I'm curious about is not NFL related, but you mentioned that you like watch too much of the of hockey.
Yes.
Why? I guess.
It's a valid question.
I don't like, despite the Blackhawks. Well, all of their recent success was like deeply tainted by a very toxic and shitty organization that covered up some really bad shit.
It's gotten so bad that CM Punk doesn't even tweet about them anymore. That's how rotten that whole thing
Well,
is.
I managed to emotionally dodge that by not just that being one of, like, in the hierarchy of sports that I follow for Chicago sports, just never really latched onto the Blackhawks whatsoever, even during the run in which they were good for like that decade. So I'm just curious, like, what made it work for you on?
I had never cared about hockey until I started working at 2K, and the guy who was the lead tester there, his name was Hayden Roca, was a huge hockey fan, like just dyed in the wool, like absolute sicko Sharks fan, and he had a really infectious, like, love of the game and like willingness to sort of like kind of try and get other people into it, but not in an obnoxious way. Like in a really like, no man, I just want to show you what I love about this game.
That's cool.
And it was cool. Like, and that's the thing. Like, he got me into their fantasy hockey league, despite me not really knowing much about who was in hockey at the time, beyond the player ratings I was staring at every day.
So you're basically auto drafting and just hoping for the best.
I drafted Marty Brodeur first. It did not hurt me, is all I'll say. But that was what kind of got me into it. And having no real regional association with any of it, I really just kind of started watching it for the enjoyment of the game. And that has always kind of stuck with me. I think regular season hockey is good, but I think playoff hockey is genuinely extremely exciting. And overtime playoff hockey, to quote John Boyce, I'm just going to paraphrase John Boyce, it's like snorting a line of cocaine and then taking a rocket ship ride. Like, that shit is absolutely off the chain, and I love it. Like, I think playoff hockey is one of my favorite sports to watch, period.
Well, it sounds like you agreed with that, right? Like, what is it like for people that don't, like, we broadly assume when people are listening to this, they might have a familiarity with sports, but like, what's different about playoff hockey that is interesting?
Just about every other sport seems to try to have some way to bring a tie match to some form of conclusion, to speed up that conclusion. Hockey will just play the complete game until someone wins the sudden death, like, game of hockey they're playing, which means that, like, once you're in overtime hockey, especially if like it's a deciding game or close to deciding, the notion that like we're in overtime and we will do as many overtime periods as it takes to arrive at an honest to God winner. No penalty shots that like it's just going to be the fluke of how well the goalie's anticipating shot after shot after shot.
I guess I just assumed it worked like soccer at some point where...
Works that way in the regular season. They do a brief...
Yeah, the shootout is in the regular season.
They do a 4-on-4.
Because no one wants to stick around for an exhibition game for 3.5 hours.
No.
So this is similar to like one of those recent playoff baseball games. I think it was during the first round, the wild card stuff, where one of the games went to the 18th.
Yeah, the Mariners.
You were sending messages about a true sicko mode watch. I entered the 18th inning.
Yeah, and that like, and here's the thing, like, I do think I think there's value in retaining that. I understand why baseball like wants to get away from like endless extra innings, and I can see where like. As funny as it is to hear about people getting out of a baseball game at like 3 a.m. sometimes, I can see where like you don't really necessarily want that to be a part of the regular season play. But I do love that a game leaves open the possibility, however remote, that like, theoretically, this need never end until we arrive at an actual winner playing the game by the same rules that we've established throughout. The thing I don't like about like, it is, to me, like a thing that I always find so deflating. For instance, like when the World Cup rolls around, I briefly care for like a week about soccer. When it's like you're having a great match, and then it's like, well, we just can't seem to arrive at a winner, so it's penalty kick time, and to have like that all build up to this kind of like random win generator sucks. Whereas hockey, and also like the game changes in that in
Because
those
physical
extended-
exhaustion, like
Yeah.
you train yourself for a specific period to be at some form of your A game.
Yeah.
And then the notion of the extended period that is played by the same rules forces you to continue playing this past the point of normal physical exhaustion, which then introduces variables depending on how different players stack up, like starts taking out certain players, certain formations or whatever, like that you can account for. And I imagine that becomes really interesting over time.
Well, and so back in the day, it used to be that, overtime was decided with ties in hockey. Like, that was the thing, was, you do one overtime period, and if nothing happened, that was just a tie. And it is maybe one of the most uniquely American solutions to say, no one can ever just be as good as each other. It is, in fact, it is an obscenity, the idea that two teams could just say, well, we're both equally good, see you next time. Like, that is an impossibility in American sports. And because every time it happens in the NFL, you never stop hearing about, like, what an abomination it was that game went to a tie.
Well, a tie, or like this will be the first year, right, where they've changed the playoff rules where, and this goes back to last year's Bills-Chiefs game in which that game, which was incredible, goes to overtime. The Chiefs win the coin flip. Mahomes goes down, scores a touchdown. Josh Allen sits on the sidelines the entire time, and you don't get a chance to respond. This year, I think they've changed that to be more closer to a college format, not quite adopting like the complete wildness of like college football, like overtime rules. Where like it's the second overtime in college football, like you have to go for 2 on every touchdown. I think that is the case.
I don't watch college sports.
Okay,
so
I don't watch a lot. I don't watch it,
that's closer.
But it's something like they start, even though they're not playing by the same rules, they're asking people to do like stranger stuff as it goes along in order to justify the game keep going. And this will be the first year, I believe, with the playoffs where that won't happen. Where like if Mahomes gets it at least
one time
you get a chance to respond. But I think that part is really, because we've got one of the baseball games going on in the background here. And like this year is the first time that they've gone through a couple of years of experimentation of like, what is it like for the playoffs of this sport to modify over time? And like one of the big criticisms of this year's was that you had a number of like not just big market teams that have the most to spend, but although there is a consistency there between the teams that lost early on. Those teams also, because of their big market, have a lot of money, have better players, also won a lot more games, and then managed to pretty much like across the board like not win out of the first round.
Right. But my stance on all of this is just bring back ties in the regular season. Why not? Like this shootout stuff, like yes, it's kind of exciting, but it also feels like a really stupid way to win a game. And it's just like, no, just bring back, ties. Like each team gets 1 point. Because the NHL has that whole point system where if you get a win, it's 2 points. And then if you get an overtime loss now, you still get 1 point. Which just fucking, just do the 1 point thing. Like there's no real reason to get rid of it other than Americans think ties are boring. And I'm just saying that, like, what America thinks has never been less meaningful.
Well, I think there's also, here's the other thing. I think baseball not baseball, American sports in general has an obsession with the single elimination bracket tournament.
Yes.
That is is also up its own ass enough with the idea of like meritocracy that it's like we need this format to figure out who the best team is, and obviously this format reliably generates results that reward teams that are not the best. Like American hatred of ties and American hatred of anything that like smacks of a round robin are really two things that like plunge our sports into a deep incoherence. Like baseball, there are so many baseball games to have it all build up to, and here you are in a bracket.
Yep.
It's like, it is so, like, there's 2 different games of baseball that are played. There's the regular season that's played, and then, well, good. Glad we did that 150 fucking times. None of it matters now. Can you win 3 out of 5?
Honestly, they should just move to G1 climax rules and just have every team in each division play each other once, and whoever has the 2 top points teams in the end, go to the conference championship, and then it goes to the World Series. Neither of you knows what the G1 climax is. No. Why the fuck did I even say that? It's the New Japan Pro Wrestling big tournament they do every year, but it's round robin style.
Yeah.
There's 2 blocks, and then every
I
wrestler
picked
in each
you up
block.
at the very end,
Yeah.
where it's just like, yeah, okay, so we...
Yeah, he's getting beer now,
it's
I see.
I need one of those.
I heard
Thank you.
wrestling and I was like, you know what? All right, that's the ringing of the bell.
But
Everyone
here's the
needs a
thing:
beer.
the reason the G1 Climax
I
rules.
love that you
Spring
couldn't just
Dingus
keep
G1
going.
Climax sounds inappropriate, and I was like,
But here's the thing: the
fuck is
reason
he
why
talking about?
the reason why the G1 Climax absolutely rules is because you get these two blocks of 10 wrestlers who are usually like the 10 best or 20 best people currently going in the entire Japanese, like New Japan and some guests from overseas come in, and then they all have to wrestle each other over the series of weeks. So it's just like show after show after show, and like once they've all wrestled each other within that block, like they have a ton of great matches, and then like they have their big blow off at the end, and it's just really exciting because you're seeing incredibly talented people all wrestling each other. I understand it's not real sports. I understand it's all predetermined,
right.
but like
the sheer
excitement of it.
velocity
Well,
of
and
it.
also,
is-
hang on, wrestling understands the value of like good bookings, and like, boy, it sucks when you're watching the playoffs and like it's clear there are not good bookings here because the rules have created like a lot of unwatchable games that were like, boy, the stakes are really high, but also if this team advances the fucking wild card round, like people's windows are going, like executives will be going out windows. Like it's that bad if this team knocks off a good team with a good market.
Well, I mean, this
whole
was
thing's
frankly
fucked.
as good as the Eagles are this year. That's sort of what happened last year, where like they had an okay team managed because of the new 17 playoff format in the NFL because they wanted more games. The Eagles sneak in and just get fucking stomped by the Bucks. Like it was embarrassing, no fun for any. It was like the kind of like. Can we just mercy rule this? Like, literally nobody wants to play this game anymore. The Eagles players are learning. It's not where they say, like, well, you got some real postseason experience. Like, no, you didn't. Like, you just got
You got a thing you're going to talk to your therapist about after this, and that's about
Everyone just wants to go home. And that's as some of it's format, some of it is, like, especially in the NFL case, just wanted to make more money. It's like, well, playoffs that's another ad bracket. Like, and they just put more teams in there. And it's like, well, yeah, but, like, especially, like, this season in the NFL, we're like, offense because of, which they're largely attributing to what they call the cover two shell, which is a defensive format in which you have the safeties and the cornerbacks create a shell. And it's like, we're just not going to let you throw the ball deep unless there's busted coverage. You're going to have to dink, dunk, work your way down the field, 5 yards, 7 yards, 12 yards. And for these incredible quarterbacks who are used to being like, I'm going to fucking rip it. Well, it turns out they can't. They get impatient, they rip it, and like it's, it doesn't go anywhere. And
there's like 3 quarterbacks that have figured out how to work around that, and just about no one else
but
has.
even them, I believe I saw the stat was like NFL points are down 5 points on average across the board, and even like the most recent like Bills-Chiefs game, while good, was like well under like the gambling under because like this defensive technique is working even on. They can bust it, they can poke a hole in it.
Yeah.
But like broadly, it is essentially like depressing offense, which is funny given that the NFL specifically has spent like the last 10 years being like, well, in the name of player safety, you can't touch the quarterback, especially the ones that are on TV, because we're just going to keep giving them yards. And offense is actually a better entertainment product. And like that's where like the rub of like, well, what is entertaining in theory and makes more money runs into the sport itself, or whatever we consider the canonical rules.
But like, I was just on the subject of like the tournament bracket stuff. Like, I saw that article that was going around earlier this week, the LA Times thing, where they were talking about how like they should have just let the Dodgers go into the, into the World Series, because I mean, look how many games they won, and that's whiny.
Some real Boston energy in that defense.
And like that's whiny horseshit, and I don't take any of that seriously. But there is one nugget of a point in there, which is the idea that yes, this current wild card setup that they have, I don't think is really the answer. But if you had a thing where the Dodgers had to play every other playoff team in their conference at least once, and then whoever had, and see how they fare. If they lost to every other team, you don't get to write that article, because it doesn't matter what you won in the regular season, because every other playoff team just spanked you. But if you lose like, 2 or 3 games to this, random wild card team, I agree there's like a little bit of a disconnect there, especially for the fan base. I just don't think baseball's ever going to solve that, because baseball is kind of an unsolvable problem. There's too many games. Most of those games don't matter.
It's slow and not particularly dynamic by nature.
Until the playoffs kick off, and even it's really kind of deep into the playoffs before anything really, like, now is the time when baseball gets interesting.
Well, because it gets cold, right? Like
Yeah.
baseball is like broadly played when it's pretty warm. It's like delightful to watch an extremely cold crowd with extremely cold players, where you can see like the weather having an impact on like their ability to like grip a ball, throw a ball, and it's dead silent or extremely loud, and like there's something about that makes that's like baseball at its best, which I think is why most people tune into the playoffs, because you get to see the drama heightened to a degree that unless you have fandom with a team is really hard to cap. Like I think baseball is like far and away one of the most like without personal investment boring sports to watch when it's like the regular season.
Yeah.
Especially for how many games there are too. It's part of what I love about football is like, well now there's 17, but 16 it's like every game has narrative import to like what is happening in the season. And it's small, and because of that, I can understand the relationships between every team that is going on, which is harder to do in other sports that have more games, played throughout a season.
Yeah.
One thing I'm curious about. This relates to your NHL stuff. Is that did you ever latch on? Because we were talking about one of the topics I wanted to bring up was like with the MLB postseason starting. Like, how do you latch onto a team? Like, do you just watch the sport, or do you find like a team to sort of root for and like have an invested interest in if you don't have your particular team in it?
Right.
Did that ever happen with the NHL? Like, did you find a team that just sort of spoke to
Yeah.
you?
Yeah. It ended up being the Devils.
Okay.
It's
Interesting.
Satan. I mean, that was kind of it.
Well,
was like,
sometimes it's as simple as that.
That's a real corny Satan they got there.
oh yeah, no, I mean it's the Jersey Devil. Like
Yeah,
it's more of like a
like
minor
one
minion of
cut
Satan.
above the Noid, really.
Yeah. No, what it
my
honestly
God.
was I remember I drafted Marty Brodeur only because I was like I had Devils, and also he had a high rating in 2K3. And I was just like, well, I guess since I have him on this team, I guess I'll watch their games or whatever. And I actually found them like kind of fun to watch, and I kind of latched onto it in a way that was a little more sincere than just liking the aesthetic or whatever. And Marty Brodeur is one of the greatest goaltenders of all time, and like he's staunch goaltender. And for the years that he was playing that I was watching, like that made that team interesting to watch me. They have not been good in some years, but I do still watch them when they're on the television. The problem is that mostly I get Islanders and Rangers games, and while they are better teams, I just don't care that much about them. But that's the thing, is that like I don't have a full latch. I think I like the Devils. Shout out to Jeff Bakalar. I kind of like the Sharks just because I have friends who are Sharks fans. I have friends who are Kings fans, and that's great.
Okay.
I will never root for, I'll never root against the Bruins because I ended up doing an installation when I was at Harmonix. I did like a pregame and like halftime thing with Rock Band there, and a few of the players came along and hung out, and they were super nice. So I'll never root against them, but I've just never really latched on the Bruins at all. And every other team is not a place I've lived or have people, so I just don't care.
Well, that reminds me. So, what is Harmonix's relationship to the Patriots?
There were a lot of Pats fans.
Okay.
Not like universally, and granted, this was back when there was like 350 people working there, so it's probably, maybe the percentages have shifted somewhat, but yeah I mean, those are some Boston-ass Boston people. The Harmonix like lifers and the people who were like really the main people there, those are Boston people, and all the trappings that come along with that.
All right. Well, there was there's some news. I just wanted to update. We recently talked about the Brett Favre stuff in the previous podcast, and
What a dick!
Yeah, what a dick. Which is true across the entirety of Brett Favre's
Well, no, except for that
career.
one part where it's actually not really what a dick.
Yeah, but I just really enjoyed the statement that he gave to. So obviously we talked on a previous sports podcast about he was involved in essentially sort of like the smuggling of funds meant for. What was it specifically for?
Well, it was welfare.
Welfare, and then like essentially just pocketed for to help build a stadium and for speeches that he never gave, and also went to all sorts of other people that were not Brett Favre, but he is the celebrity at the center of that.
Did you see the other? I mean, okay, this probably doesn't mean as much to you as it did me. There was another name on there that it's a pro wrestler.
Yeah.
$1 Million Man Ted DiBiase was in there.
Right.
Because he has a ministry now. He is a minister and has been for many years.
All right.
And apparently he was also wrapped up in that thing along with his dipshit son, who had a brief wrestling career and then kind of flamed out.
Jesus.
Yeah.
How quickly did he pivot to the to the church?
He went to the church pretty quick after he retired, which was in the
Okay.
90s. He did some managing in WCW, and then he kind of walked out in the late 90s. And I think that's when he started the ministry. And I'm pretty sure it's one of those ministries.
I was gonna say,
prosperity gospel type shit.
Yeah, I think so.
So the Forest, I just wanted to reread the quote because it's so funny. And of course, he released an exclusive statement to Fox News, of all places. I've been unjustly smeared in the media. I've done nothing wrong, and it's time to set the record straight. No one ever told me, and I did not know, that funds designated for welfare recipients were going to the university or me. Tried to help my alma mater, USM, a public Mississippi State University. That little line is clearly like written by some PR firm. Raise funds for a wellness center. My goal was and always will be to improve the athletics facilities at my university. State agencies provided the funds to Nancy News Charity, the Mississippi Community Education Center, which then gave the funds to the university, all with the full knowledge and approval of other state agencies, including the Statewide Institute for Higher Learning, the Governor's Office, and the Attorney General's Office. I was told that the legal work to ensure that those funds could be accepted by the university was done by the state attorneys and state employees. Delightful. Just a real piece of shit.
He will never see any jail time.
No.
He will at most get a fine. And we will always remember this along with the dick pic whenever his name comes around.
But the dick pic has been long enough that I think people have forgotten it because that
Yes.
happened at the tail end of his career.
Yeah.
Right? And so...
But then it was actually his brief tenure at the Jets. And then he got kind of papered
God,
over by
I
that
forgot
great
that happened.
season with the Vikings.
One great season with the Vikings, yes.
So I think that would have been sort of a legacy redefining moment, except that, you know, sports loves a winner. He was a winner again for a year, and it's like, man, how long can he keep going? Not much longer, it turns out.
I give it.
And then
I give it. If he manages to not fuck up again, I give it like inside of a decade before they start trying to whitewash his reputation again in NFL stuff. Like they'll just start referencing him again and start talking about him like, oh, the great Brett Favre. But here's the thing: he seems really fucking dumb.
I think he would just double down. Like this seems like a real like Papa John's situation. Like
I think he's going to keep tripping over his bootcut jeans and fucking.
Well, the moment
fuck
that
up
you're
again.
releasing your statement, not in like a notes app on Twitter, but it's
Yeah.
like no directly to Fox News. I'm going right to the source in order to let the people know that this is all. You know, I'm not going to say it's a smear by the Jewish media, but I'm going to say enough things that like
Yeah.
we can start putting those pieces together.
I'm going to give you enough like bait for you to assume that's what I mean.
Yeah, exactly.
God.
The other big thing we were talking about this ahead of the recording this was about all the Daniel Snyder of the Washington Commanders, which at least we can say without feeling entirely uncomfortable, as opposed to I wish they kept the Washington football team. I thought
They shouldn't have been allowed to have a new name. That should have been their punishment, is that you are now Washington football team, and maybe in 20 years when you've thought about what
earn the
you've
right
done,
to get a new
maybe
name.
we'll give you a dumb name.
Actually, I did like, because every time somebody said Washington football team, even though that was their official name after a point, it still felt like at that point it was everyone being like, yep, you're such a disgrace. We are still just using your full middle and last name to like deal with what you are. But yeah.
Daniel Snyder, they're one of all the billionaire owners associated with the NFL, is one that's been disliked, has been just broadly disliked as a person for a long time, and then in the last couple of years been embroiled in a number of controversies related to. If you just Google Daniel Snyder controversy, you'll find anything from like their cheerleading department, all sorts of untoward sexual harassment allegations, like real just toxic culture from start to finish. And increasingly there has been this thought that, well, at some point, and there's ongoing congressional investigations.
Several.
He's he's purposely disappearing like on his yacht. People are like tracking him on Twitter. Like when like subpoenas and things are being issued to folks in his organization. Just a real piece of shit that also puts out an enormously bad product. This is the group that had Kirk Cousins for a number of years. You like that is like comes out of this era, Rob.
Well, no, I'm saying, and this is where it is routinely puts out a terrible product that we begin to get at what the league will lose patience with.
Correct. And a bad product they will not lose patience with as long as people keep sharing them. Although I have read, especially in the post-cut, like whatever you think of Kirk Cousins, who's like essentially like a pretty average quarterback unless he plays on Sunday night or Monday night. He their ticket sales were decent. Now they're like non-existent. You can
Yeah.
regularly show up to a game the day of and like get in there for essentially like pennies. As a result of these increased congressional inquiries and sort of a thought of like, well, what is it? And this is like a broader thing that happens in sports. Like, what does it take for there's no way to force out an owner of a sports team unless the other owners say you should leave.
Yeah.
Like there are not like automatic triggers or anything like that. There's no outside body. It has to be your fellow billionaires go, this is actually hurting our bottom line. How are we going to get rid of you? And this has been talked about with Snyder, but the most recent thing that sort of tips it into, well, shit, this might actually happen, was like frequently embarrassed Indiana Colts owner Jim Irsay.
Oh, no. He doesn't feel embarrassment. That man is incapable of embarrassment. Jim
true.
Irsay is
That is
pure
true.
id, wrought upon the people of Indiana.
Kato, before I move forward with this, we're about to hit 33, aren't we?
Yeah.
Can you swap us over?
Yeah. To like the PC?
The PC.
Yeah.
At 33 after the hour, I have to play a song. People donate in some version of 3333, and we do that for a minute while we read their donations.
Let's do it.
So Kato is setting that up so we can do the final one of the night. Kato is loaded. Kato, I'm gonna let you play this.
Oh yeah.
You're gonna come over here. You loaded the songs.
Yeah.
You loaded some really interesting ones. I think you should do the one. Do you know what I'm saying?
The one?
It starts with one.
Oh.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, it pulled up.
Okay.
Y'all keep talking.
All right.
All right.
So we do this three, and this is where we're going to bump ourselves over 20,000. That's what's going to happen here.
We're really close.
The wonderful people have donated $19,846 and 14 cents to the National Network of Abortion Funds. It's been an awesome day so far. Lots of great folks have been hanging out, watching us play.
Oh dear.
Alex, do you know what we played earlier today?
What did you play?
A game reviewed, given a 7.5 by the great Ryan Davis. Outlaw Golf 2.
Oh wow. Yeah, he loved those golf games.
Yeah. Have you?
As well he should have, it turns out. As well he
I
should have.
remember. I have a vague recollection of the Outlaw golf games and what their whole thing was.
Deeply early 2000s. This one is narrated or commentated by. Well, the first one was commentated by Steve Carell. We didn't play that one.
Okay.
The second one is Dave Attell. If that tells you anything about the era that this would be occurring in.
All right.
Okay,
Are we
Kato,
Is that one?
hit us.
you have
Unless
the
you have another
donations
one you
pulled
want to do.
No, I'm just making.
Oh,
No, this
Kato,
is a
can
great
you
one.
hold on. Do I just go to Tiltify?
Yeah. You'll be able to pull
Okay.
up.
Say point dot stream.
Patrick, here.
Wait,
I'll
what?
send you a link.
Okay.
We didn't. Did we play?
Did you play original Outlaw golf on the first Waypoint stream?
Did that happen?
Did we?
There were a lot of games being played on
It was
that stream.
72 hours.
The 72-hour one? Did we
Yeah,
really
you
play
might
Outlaw
have.
Golf?
You might have.
Damn, well, that was 6 years ago. That was long enough to forget.
That was also a
something.
different time.
Yeah, it was a much different website. All right, hold on. I'm clicking on this thing. That
Yeah, we were all in a very different place back then, weren't we?
You came out for that.
I did.
Oh, okay. And this was just. Oh, I see. Okay, this is going to refresh in real time. Okay. All right, Kato, get over here.
Oh, you're
Oh
already
wow,
over.
people are pushing.
You're
I
already
know.
over.
No,
yep.
they have not gotten us
Okay.
over 20,000.
We are $3.33 away, and we will be until this song kicks up.
I can't read those donations until Kato comes over here.
We just crashed out of the. Oh.
I don't know what happened there, but they'll hear it.
Okay.
They'll hear it, they just won't see it.
No, yeah, it's just won't see.
That's fine. It's the end of the night. Kato said fuck it.
No, I respect
All
that.
right, imagine tromboning.
Oh, but we're not going to be able to hear it. Put on your headphones. Put on your headphones.
I've got them. They're right here.
Oh, I got to get the cord. Oh, my cord's wrapped around.
I hear it.
All right, I'm not going to be able to hear it. You guys
Donate!
listen. Thank you to Chipmunk for donating $10. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, go on Waypoint Sports Podcast. I agree. $3.33 from Anonymous. $3.33 from Anonymous. $12.45 from I Do What I Want. I will never donate a 3. Thank you. $1 for $13.33 from Alex Pantay.
There's no audio on stream apparently.
Wait, at all?
Now we're starting over. Cancel
They
it.
can't hear anything. They can't hear anything. They don't. Do they not hear us?
No, they hear us. I
Okay.
don't think they hear the.
Jay Harkins, why would
The
you?
audio is just
why do
Patrick
you
yelling.
withhold the bone?
Oh, that's so good.
They hear us, just no music.
Give me the bone.
I demand the bone.
Give me the bone. Oh, also, I hear this.
I hear baseball.
I hear the bass. Kato, you're gonna get us. Kato, you're gonna get us. They're gonna cancel this.
So if we break $21,000,
We don't have express written consent.
we break $21,000. We'll bring back video.
We'll bring back
We'll
baseball.
bring back trombone.
There it is.
Okay, here we go. All right. They still can't see it, but you can hear it now.
What the
Yes,
fuck?
they can hear this.
All right, sophisticated pills, $3.33. Go Celtics, Eleanor, $33.33. Riley, $3.30. Snow, $33.33 from Anonymous. Sir, 5,000. Sees Gamers donating to SavePoint. Oh, I love that drive. The way they just clench his fist, save all those freaking points. Very good. $6.66 from Anonymous. Ed A, $133.33. Turning in late from down under 20K. Let's go. That is Sephiroth, and you can't see it, and that sucks.
Oh my god.
That is a nasty Sephiroth. Voodoo, $6.66. Checking on the 3307. Tet Omega, $33.33. $33.30. Abortion rights are human rights. Yes, they are. Tully with $3.33. Rob, where did you get those shoes? Go. That's what he said earlier. Love it with $3.33. Alex is the greatest.
Oh, thank you.
Pat Bear, we love Pat Bear. $13.33. Thank you, Pat. Pat says, wish I was in NYC to stop by. Remember when you all left me alone on stream? Did we do that to Pat? I apologize to you, Pat. That sounds bad. That's bad hosting. Anonymous, $33.33. Snow, Halation. Professor with $3.33. 3. Morgan's fiance Jessica. Thanks for helping Morgan propose. I said yes.
She doesn't hate us. Yeah.
When did that? What was this? Did I miss this?
You did it!
Oh right,
You
that was
organized
on the
it.
podcast. I'm sorry, I was confused with the date night earlier tonight. I thought maybe I missed something there. Jessica, great name. That's my daughter's name. Jessica's. They're good people. Pasta Pirate, $3.30. Keep being amazing. Evie Nicks, $3.33.
This is deafening for the stream. Is it
tromboner.
I hope so. I
Jay
really hope
Harkins,
so.
$3.33. Give me the bone. Nasty Sephiroth with a $33.33 donation. Can we get some more nasty Sephiroths in the donation? Can we get to 21K with some you nasty Sephiroths
That
there on the
trombone
chat?
stuff.
Ooh. RRIX with $20. Chaos reigns. And that's where I'm at right
Is this the longest song in this game?
how long is?
All the songs in this game are like 2 minutes long at most. I know this is a mod, but still. Maybe there's a reason for that. This song is like 7 minutes long!
That's the end, right? No.
That's fine, that's fine. That's your TV.
Why did you had to keep going?
You have to keep going!
Can you hit escape? Will it let you go back?
No, that's it. It's fine.
That's fine.
Usually we do that for
Okay,
2
that was
minutes.
real intense.
Oh my god.
Woo! $20,357.12. Incredible. All right.
So anyway, Dan Snyder.
Dan Snyder. Right.
Remember what we were talking about?
Cara, can you
Let's bring it back. Let's bring it back to the podcast.
Can you mute this goofy game? Thank you.
I just turned my headphones off. That's
Yeah,
fine.
we can take our headphones off again.
Woo! Sports.
Sports. So yes. So the
Where were
question
we?
the question in front of us here is the notion of what pushes a billionaire orders to push another billionaire owner out. And anyway, so Jim Irsay, that's where we were. Someone who's has his own controversies. Was found with drugs and he was drunk. I forget the exact.
I think he had at least one DUI or something.
Yeah, it was some messy stuff. And Irsay came out recently and basically this is related to this. This is a response to I believe it was an ESPN report in which there were the sourcing said that Daniel Snyder had said, well, they can't kick me out. I have dirt on all of them. If I'm going down, I'll take them with me. And Jim Irsay, as you have eloquently pointed out, has nothing to hide at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Not a man to be embarrassed. Said, let's just do it. Because I think you shouldn't be here anymore.
You want to get nuts? Let's get nuts.
And that is a wild place to be watching this play out in public.
And so there was, I don't remember how this all played out, but correct me if I'm wrong. It was always there was some question around how the John Gruden emails ended up leaking out of an investigation that was of the Washington organization.
Yes.
Well, why was that leaked? Why is that the thing that came out?
And the report
which didn't embarrass Snyder. It embarrassed the Raiders. It embarrassed. It destroyed Gruden's career. Mark Davis. And there was always a conspiracy theory that part of it was that was a shot across the bow of do we want to dig in here? Do we want to see what's going on? Yeah. Also, there were also people I think who believed the NFL leaked it to sort of counterpunch
or to get ahead of something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it takes some focus off this ongoing scandal, but this sudden pivot to outright blackmail in public suddenly makes me think that was that a warning shot of just imagine all the stuff I've gathered. But he even said didn't he even say Snyder that he had private investigators tasked with this stuff,
he described,
real Pelicano shit.
He described at one point saying that we're the NFL owners group is like the mafia or whatever, and we're all trying to fuck each other over, and then some other owner went off the record or anonymously said to a reporter, was no, we all hate him, very explicitly. It's not that we're all out to get him. It's that he has made our lives miserable, and we fucking hate this person.
We're all the worst.
Yeah.
But one is worser.
And that's the thing. And so to your question of what it would actually take to get 31 billionaires to hate a 32nd billionaire this much.
And I think I believe I saw today 24 of them need to vote.
Yeah.
It's not as though
it's a supermajority.
It has to be now granted, some of that's probably a domino effect of the moment you either get on one side or the other.
Yeah.
If it gets messy in between, that's when the shit starts leaking. Whereas if they just push him out, it probably suppresses some of this information that would get leaked.
But here's the thing. So the NBA and the NFL are obviously not the same in this regard. The NBA, they got rid of Donald Sterling. They got rid of this guy in the Sun, who owns the Suns, who is selling the team.
And the NBA also specifically allows a different ownership than the NFL does, where the NBA is increasingly towards these big ownership groups in which there's lots of people involved. There's a little bit of that with the Broncos sale that just happened that I don't know if that's changed with the NFL, but usually you have singular people.
Right.
This person owns the team.
It's a Jerry Jones. It's a Shad Khan. It is not an ownership group necessarily.
Right.
But so the reason I point that out is because it's kind of striking to me just how, in the grand scheme of things, it's not that Donald Sterling and the guy who owned the Suns, whose name I can never remember.
Savard?
Yeah, it's not like they didn't do anything bad. They fucking did. But it did not require this long, years, drawn out process to get rid of these motherfuckers. It with Sterling, it was no, there's tapes. There's there's testimony. There's other shit.
Well, that's also the big thing. What happens with these instances, largely because of the media landscape we live in, if there isn't audio or video, it is so much harder to actually truly cause the kind of level of embarrassment that gets others to act. And by others, I mean other rich people that have to be the ones that act. But if it's just I don't know, it's just written up in an article, especially if it's only on ESPN.
Yeah.
We have to get to the New York Times. It has to be a cultural moment before any of this kicks in.
But the reason I point that out is because the NBA is just a very different organization of billionaires than the ones that run the NFL. And the NFL, I can't think of a time in my lifetime when there has been an owner so hated by the other owners that there was actually a legitimate shot. Stephen Ross literally tampered with the game. And there's no real indication that he's going anywhere.
They just took a draft pick.
They took a draft pick and put him on timeout for a little
What
while.
does that mean? All that means is you can't come to the stadium. The owners don't do anything actively in their organizations other than hire and fire GMs.
Yeah. You can tamper with the game all you want and be as racist with your coach hiring as you want, but as long as you're not fumbling the bag, we don't give a shit. Daniel Snyder, on top of all the absolutely heinous moral shit that he has done, did the one thing that you cannot do with the NFL ownership group. He fumbled the bag.
Yeah.
He is actually negatively impacting the business of the NFL, which is the only thing they give a shit about. And so now, because he has been such a thorn in their side, because his business is tanking and actually there is a cone of ignorance around the Washington Commanders. It is dragging other franchises down with them into the cone. Now they're like, we can't take this anymore.
Well, and also crucially, so there's two scandals that also got under their skin. One is, this is not proven, but there are allegations from people who are highly placed in the organization who alleged that they were misreporting their income numbers as an org, which means they were basically keeping two sets of books, one they provided the NFL and one they paid themselves out of.
Right.
And so
that impacts the finances of the other owners.
Yeah. Right. But then that's an allegation. But the other thing that this really isn't, but the fact that the Commanders are so hated in their hometown.
The hometown where the U.S. government is and who are
rich
definitely
media
paying
market.
attention.
Yeah. Rich media market. This should be sort of a crown jewel franchise. This is not Cleveland.
Yeah.
But nothing against Cleveland. Sorry. But yeah, I know. But you know what I mean.
Well, actually, right now, maybe a little bit. Not Cleveland the city, but the Browns. Fuck.
I'm just saying we could get rid of Ohio.
But the thing is, of course, that because there is revenue sharing across the league, in and among the teams. If someone is not, if you view it as the organized crime metaphor, it's like Donnie Brasco, where everyone's got to bring in their take. Right. Snyder for years now, the NFL is a hugely growing industry. In spite of everything going against it, huge growth. It's a powerhouse. The Commanders are defying the laws of gravity around the NFL. And are having a diminishing.
They're literally dragging the business down.
Yeah, and so it's they're looking at it as we have a slow bleed happening where we should have another gold mine.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that the NFL just simply will not suffer impact to their business in that way. That is the whole reason that they let as many of these owners get away with the shit that they have for so long, because it is. I mean, the one thing Dan Snyder is not wrong about, and this is the only thing I will ever give him credit for, is he's right. This is a mafia. It is 32, mid-level dons, and by mid-level I mean they're billionaires, but they're just guys that have their little regional fiefdoms, and then they have their fucking Kevin Pollak and casino figurehead guy and Roger Goodell.
Yep.
And he just sits there and smiles for the camera and does all the dirty business that they need him to do while they sit there and they collect. Yeah. And this guy, he's not making his take. They're not able to collect from him because he's doing such a shit fucking job of running that team. And on top of that, you've got him digging his heels in over the racist name. And you've got these investigations around the trafficking of cheerleaders, for God's sake.
That's a thing that I could never, this was years ago this came out, where it was oh yeah, the cheerleaders were forced to go to a social event with backers, and their passports were surrendered to representatives of the team.
Yeah.
It was part of that story, which is hallmark human trafficking shit. You lose the power of free travel if someone holds your fucking papers. And that was years ago that broke, and still the wheels.
They still have not shook him loose.
Yeah.
And now it's what is finally going to do it. Again, the thing that is finally going to do it is the fact that even after the digging his heels and finally giving up on the rebrand, finally giving up on just about everything that he has dug his heels in over the years, the team is still garbage, and they still can't find a way to make money on one of the oldest franchises in the NFL.
And the Bears are terrible and do that every goddamn year. Is this table gonna fall? I've been working.
It doesn't feel like sliding, but it doesn't.
It's fine.
Okay.
I'm gonna stop slamming it.
We're largely gonna skip questions this week as we try to keep this one a little shorter than Rob and I do every couple of weeks. But people, They wanted a little F1 in their sports podcast.
Okay.
And so I did want, we've talked about before, Rob, like
That's a sport.
some of the like the weirdness of like football/soccer contracts, how players are transferred. So this has come up a couple of times, and so I just wanted to put this to you. You can, you're also, you can pitch your own podcast. So hey, Rob and Patrick. And Alex. In the last episode, you asked how others sports handle labor contracts. Allow me to point you to F1. While the contracts are not terribly captivating, the player market can be bonkers. For more detail, I would like to defer to Rob because everything I know I've learned from him via the Shift of One podcast. Best of luck, Danny McCullis. McCullis? So I'm just curious, does anything come to mind that is especially weird about how this particular thing works in F1?
Well, I don't think it's necessarily. I think what's weird in some ways is how open that market is in terms of like what can play out. That might change. They're trying to introduce like cost control things, but they've exempted driver salaries from their budget caps for F1, so that you can still pay for like superstar drivers and pay them a lot. But I think the funny thing about F1 is that every team has like a budget of $145 million thereabouts, and they have two
and that's
drivers.
Due to a cap?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
that's
so
a,
it
that's,
has an
a, that's a
artificial
new
cap.
invention.
Okay.
But in the past, you can go sailing past that, and you've only got two cars. And
Does it have a luxury tax thing like the
No.
like? Okay, so it is like the NFL where you just hit a hard cap. Okay.
Right. So, but the thing is, so like, because so much is invested in running these two cars for a season, there really is no margin for error for like who you put in those cars. So it's like a bit like the quarterback thing, but now there's even less. You can't scheme around like a shit driver.
It's
in some ways.
just them.
Right, and also it's an engineering sport, so you want to remove as much uncertainty as possible. So like what you want is, regardless
a
of the
robot
flashy,
in your car.
Yeah, like someone who basically is going to turn identical laps again and again, so you can see what the engineering around them is doing. And so there's a lot invested in a long like pipeline in F1 that starts literally when kids are like when drivers are children. It begins with them in go-karts, at like elementary school age.
How do they this is maybe, I don't want to send you on too
No.
far of a tangent, but like, how do they identify a good driver at an age well before, like what sport is identifying that? Like what are the
Karting.
What's the farm league?
Karting, but their farm league is also basically Pop Warner.
Okay.
So it is going to be, and that stage is fairly easy to identify. This is like parents bring their kids. It's an expensive hobby, but not totally out of reach for middle class families in the early stages. And they race go-karts against each other. And the kids who are good at it will be visibly
It's
and identifiable.
obvious.
Yeah, it is clear. It is like when you see high school video of guys who turn out to be like all pros in the NFL,
Right.
where it's like they were playing
playing
in
a
the same
different
event.
sport.
Yes, exactly.
It's like 14-year-olds trying to tackle a guy who's already 350
Right.
pounds and 6'8".
So, from there they're progressed up through like higher ranks of karting, and then they're funneled into basically like feeder series where you're running things that are closer to the cars they're eventually going to drive. But at every stage now, the winnowing gets harder. At the penultimate stage of entering F1, it's all great drivers. And there's only a handful that are going to graduate into F1 because teams don't like taking chances. You've got a reliable, proven commodity.
Especially if you only have two to work with.
Right. So, so the thing is, like, it's hyper competitive to get in, and then it's sort of hyper competitive to stay relevant in the series, because within F1 there's only a handful of like teams that field cars that are good enough to win. And so what ends up happening is a semi-public, it's called the silly season, but like midway through...
Okay, I saw a couple people saying that in the chat, and I was like, I don't know what that means, but clearly it's a
midway
thing.
through an F1 season, people begin to think about next year, and there is no real like anti-tampering shit in F1. Like you can basically publicly negotiate and like hang your shingle and like make clear statements about like, we're not happy with how our guy is doing right now. We'll give him
You can
a few
run a
more
PR
races.
campaign.
Yeah, absolutely. And then you can basically do the reality show of like, well, number 2 driver, we're not so happy with where he's at, so we're looking at our options next year.
Wow, brutal.
And then it is basically like The Bachelor, And you have drivers at other F1 teams who are like, I want to get out of my team and like maybe get this spot. But also you have all the young drivers in the feeder series who are like, take me, take me, take me. And so the weird thing is the power dynamics swing wildly because if you're a great driver, you are such a hot commodity that now you can basically fuck with the teams and be like, I don't know, like make me happy. I'm not happy. Maybe I'll just go look for another team. And there's nothing like, you're out of contract. It's just done. Like there's no rookie contract in F1. Like once you are
There's no
like
5th-year extension.
no, like once you're coming to the end of your deal, you can just leave. And also your deal's ironclad. F1 contracts are basically like, here's what you can't do. You can't say, well, we're not violating your contract, but we're not going to race you. Your contract will say, unless I'm incapacitated, I'm driving that fucking car. So they have to eat those mistakes. That's their version of dead money. Is like
If we don't want to race them, then we just have to
pay them to go away. And so like the big thing this season, we talked a lot about it on Shift F1, which I do with Danny O'Dwyer and Drew Scanlon. But the big thing that like blew up in F1 this year is that this chain reaction happened where Fernando Alonso, who is a wildly talented, he's a wildly talented F1 driver and also radiates wide receiver energy, which is like, I am so
Like-
good at this fucking game.
Okay, I know what you mean.
But
yes.
I can't deliver victory by myself.
Right.
And that
Real Giselle, my husband cannot throw the ball and catch it at the same time type
it's
shit.
it's almost like more Randy Moss or something where
Okay.
it's like, how can you not be winning if I'm driving your fucking car? But his solution to that has always been, you know what you need? You need me to tell you how to do your job and run this team. So like he has a reputation as being like clubhouse poison, but also a wickedly talented driver who always like seems to make the wrong move at the right
Increasingly LeBron James.
So this year, he just pulled the plug on what was going to be like his new like valedictory period in his career. He was like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm leaving the French Alpine team, and I'm bouncing over to Aston Martin, which is a new team backed by a new billionaire owner who got an F1 to basically buy an F1 team so his son could race an F1.
Oh,
Yeah.
I read about this.
Yeah.
That rules.
Yeah.
That rules.
Also, here's the thing I will say. Kid's surprisingly not shit. Like, decent driver, also seems to be not an asshole. But also, I have sympathy for him because it's like, he got him being like, Dad, will you sponsor my time at F1? He was like, sure, son. But then it's like overbearing, like coach energy pouring off the dad where it's like, actually, you know, I could run an F1 team. So he buys an F1 team, does a deal with Aston Martin.
Is the easiest way to get in
He
to
didn't
buy
need
your
to
way
do
in?
this. No,
Okay.
no.
This
The
is just
easiest way
waving
to
your
do
dick
this-
around.
The easiest way to do this is what Kato and I did on Motorsports Monday, where you just say, I will pay your team lump sums if you like race the driver I back.
Right.
That's the easiest way to do it. And teams that need like assist with their budget will be like, hell yeah, I'll take that deal. Absolutely. Like imagine if you had like a marginal, like imagine if Mitch Trubisky, instead of you paying
boy.
him, every game he played, your team made $1 million from starting him.
Okay.
That's the easiest way to get your driver in. Is like we're paying you money to start him, and he's decent enough that you can actually swallow the shittiness of that deal.
Sure.
So, but Lawrence Stroll instead buys an F1 team, does a deal with Aston Martin, turns it into the Aston Martin F1 team, puts his son at the center of it, and then is like, you know what I really need is a superstar like Fernando Alonso, which by the way, way to fuck over your son, because it's like I'm bringing in a shark.
Jesus Christ.
But that's the thing, though, is that like he's good, but he's definitely not going to be winning a ton of races good, right? The son.
No, he's not.
Yeah.
He's not.
So that's not a real team then, unless you have someone who can actually
Right.
win.
So Alonso
And don't want to just be there for my son.
here's the
What
thing.
would be the fun of just being a father supporting a child's
No, fuck that.
habits?
Because he's a billionaire father. He's a takeover artist. That was his career in finance. But here's where it gets wild. So Alonso has always been a guy to like flip the table on his way out. So he doesn't even give an inkling to the team he was signed with, which is the
French
Renault
Alpine,
team,
right?
Alpine. Yeah, he didn't even tell them at all. that he wasn't going to extend the contract. They were negotiating for next year. And he's like, yeah, I'll get back to you. Yeah, he tells them, like, I got a vacation to Greece coming up. I'll get back to you after all this stuff. So he goes away and then announces the deal with Aston Martin while he's on vacation and makes a big point that, like, actually he's at his house in Spain. He just wasn't taking their calls.
Incredible.
So then, because they had been negotiating with they had assumed that Alonso would renew, they had basically been stringing along this prospect, Oscar Piastri, who is a, like, possibly a generational talent coming into the sport, but they wanted to season him, and they wanted to keep him on the hook before promoting
Like
him.
red shirting, where it's like, you're not...
Well, but you can redshirt them at other teams. You can do a deal where it's like, this driver came up through our pipeline, because we sponsor parts of the pipeline. We will loan him out to, like, a lesser team, and they'll get some seasoning. And then
without actually threatening us.
Right. Then we will sign them and bring them into the main team. But he was sort of at the end of his deal, and he was like, play me, or I'm going to make a deal on my own and go somewhere else. And they had let that lie so long that he had gotten a deal somewhere else at the McLaren team. And in a panic, they just announced that he was their driver. Like, it was like, it's like you asked someone to marry you. They were extremely non-committal and ghosted you.
But you post on Facebook.
Yes. To try and, like, summon them back.
But then you put footage of the proposal at a baseball game up for everyone to see.
Yes. So immediately, crucially, he's an Australian driver. So they do this thing where it's like, we're so happy he's going to be driving for us next year. 6 hours pass. He wakes up and he's like, actually, I am not driving for them at all. I'm driving for McLaren. And they're like, well, then we'll see. Then you better lawyer up, asshole, because we're coming back for what's ours.
Oh, my God.
They lawyer up.
This is some, like, WWF, WCW, Monday Night Wars type of shit.
Oh.
Like, oh, my God.
This is why I love this shit. So they lawyer up, and they're like, we've got a contract that we're going to hold this little fucker to, this little ungrateful bastard of an 18-year-old.
This kid who hasn't done anything.
So they're like, he violated his fucking contract with us. And so they go to a court of arbitration, and their evidence is a contract he never signed. They're like, we sent him a contract. He said he never got a contract. He like, well, we sent him one. He just never signed it. And
that's not the case.
Exactly. His representation was like, it sucked. We didn't sign it because it sucked. And we said we need a better offer. And they were like, well, we sent it. So what more do you want? So the arbitration court...
Folks, I got some documents here.
So the arbitration court was like, I award you no points, and the God have mercy on your soul. Alpine was forced to pay his lawyer fees, which were in the millions, the arbitration court fees, which were in the millions. And so that's how that wrapped up. And so, like, that whole, like, chain reaction of chaos, their only recourse now, this is also very wrestling.
Yes.
Their only recourse was to hire another French driver, Pierre Gasly. The driver who had stayed with them, Esteban Ocon, is literally Pierre Gasly's best childhood friend. They used to race karts together at his family's karting track.
No!
And
They wouldn't!
And something happened when they were teenagers. And they had a falling out that nobody understands, like, what happened. But they basically don't speak to each other anymore. And these guys were like brothers. And now they're teammates.
How's that going?
So everyone is like, we're not gonna fumble the bag. Everyone's like, we squashed the beef, it's fine. But as of a year ago, if they were ever at an event together, they would like crop each other out of each other's photos. People were like going through the Instagrams and being like, the sheer pains they went to eliminate evidence that they were ever in the same room was extraordinary.
Oh, that's
amazing. Now these two young men, once brothers turned mortal enemies, have been forced onto the same team, knowing that like that team desperately wanted two other drivers
Yeah.
way before either of these guys. Value them way more highly. So we're going to see how that
F1
goes.
or are you watching anime?
The line is very blurry, and it always has been. So this is the thing. Like F1 has always been because of this aspect of like these things play out semi-publicly. It has always had an element of like heightened reality show.
Well, it
Huge
seems like
egos.
where like a lot of the NBA has a lot of public drama, but like the NFL has a lot of private drama that sometimes spills into the public, but just by the nature of how the contracts and like player movement works. So it seems like in F1, it's all public.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, as we bring this to a close, the last thing we do each week is.
Wait a minute. This isn't like a 3-hour podcast?
No. Well, our moderators are taking over at
okay.
9:30, so that is that is our dead cap on this. But okay, all right. So Rob and I over at GridironGames.com. I mean, you could still sign up. You can sign up to do our Pick'ems League. There's no money involved. It's just for fun. Last week. Week 5, Rob and I were all tied up. Rob, I forgot to set my lineup.
Okay.
Did
you not hit the green button?
No, I just forgot.
Okay.
And then I remembered about 12:05 when I sat down to start watching the games.
So did you write down your picks so that we can?
No,
at least keep our...
I just ate it. I just ate those
Oh,
losses.
is that why we're tied now?
Well, we were tied last week.
Okay.
And then going into this week, my thought was like, well, of course, Rob is going to take an enormous lead over me because I've sacrificed the biggest block of games to all L's. And so I go to tally
How
these
many
up.
games did I pick?
So I went to tally these up a couple hours ago while we were getting ready to do this segment. And so I did mine first, and I was like, damn, only got 5 of 14. I picked really well of the slate that I had left in the like afternoon games and the evening games, but it wasn't much. So that puts me at 39 of 78. And then I went over, I looked up Rob on Gridiron Games, and Rob, and you picked all of them, also only got 5 of the 14 games. So we remain all tied up at 39 of 78. You look like you looked at your lineup, and a lot of things went. It was a very weird week.
I knew I tweeted about this on Sunday where I was like, I think my Pick'em League is just fucked because like I was like watching the scores come in. And it was like upset. And I lean hard on the line.
Sure.
Like I lean hard on like the predicted outcome. And I know that like the line is not necessarily reflective of like predicted winner. It's a representative of like betting patterns. But still, I like lean on it.
But if you don't know what to lean, it's still a better pick.
Yeah. And like, but genuinely in a lot of these cases, I did feel like, okay, there's clearly a better team, and I don't think they're going to like lose this. And then I'm watching, like
the Green Bay
literally, I knew
Packers
I was
versus
in
the
trouble.
Jets.
I'm in New York. I drove into New York. I get to my hotel room. I turn it on. There's 2 games going. It's the Jets and the Packers, and the Giants and was it the Ravens? Yeah, it was the Ravens.
Yes.
And who would have thought
And
otherwise?
I'm flipping between the two, and I'm like, oh, this is odd. What an odd day of sports. And then like other scores.
Arasad, did he not pick the Jets? No! None
Who
of
would
us
pick the
picked
Jets?
the Jets!
Yeah.
I live in New York. You don't pick the Jets.
No. So it was very funny that we both, like, you had horrible picks. I didn't pick like half the slate, and we ended up in the same place. So the last thing we always do on this podcast is we run quickly through the upcoming slate, Week 7. The opening slate on Sunday, Saints 2-4 at
Wait, we're not doing
Cardinals.
Thursday?
Well, I guess this is the Thursday game. Yes, Thursday, Saints 2-4 at Cardinals 2-4. Both bad teams.
Oh, boy.
I don't feel good about either of these teams.
DeAndre Hopkins is back.
That's right. Marquise Brown went down, and then they did the trade for the Panthers player.
Robbie Anderson.
Yes.
Who will get them 12 great catches this
Robbie
year.
Anderson, who was not played in the second half of the last game because he seemed to have gotten into a verbal and physical altercation with his wide receivers coach on the sidelines after they fired Matt Rule, their quarterbacks, or the like high-end quarterback or a college coach who like reformed 2 teams in the college level and then just fucking face planted in the NFL. Which we have like
it's a different skill set.
We have 2 high-profile examples of that, like the Jags and the Panthers, in which college does not necessarily translate because you can't just go recruit talented players.
Yeah, and you have to learn how to like coach grown men who are like getting paid to be here. And, like, have
You don't basically own them like they do in college.
Yeah.
So
Here's-
go ahead.
Well, am I allowed to pick here?
Yes.
So I don't think Hopkins fixes everything for them because they still have Cliff Kingsbury as their coach.
That's a problem.
That guy is like an NFL coach as written by David Cage. He is a fucking simulacra of a person that misunderstands everything about how humans work. That said, I think it's enough to beat the Saints, who are, in fits and starts, fun to watch, but not good.
A bad team.
But a bad team.
I agree. So we all Cardinals?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, I'll bold this. Browns 2-4 at the Ravens 3-3.
Ravens. I lost all confidence in the Browns. But honestly, okay. Lamar Jackson had a very bad quarter.
He did.
They should have won that game.
He's had a few of those
Go
this year.
look up Cato's tweets. Cato, is a Ravens fan?
Yeah.
Okay, he says yes, disaffectedly, but yes. And I retweeted them from the Waypoint account. The course of that game was like smile face, sad face, smile face, and then sad face as they blew it at the last possible second. I think Lamar Jackson is an unbelievable talent in which I just have a hard time betting against him.
He played hero ball at a moment he did not need to be playing hero ball, and that's what got him. But the Browns don't look good to me. No. They're really unreliable. I have way more faith in the Ravens still. I'm going Ravens.
Yeah, unless the Ravens defense once again forgets how to play football in the fourth quarter, I think the Ravens win this.
Yeah, I think all on the same page. Bucks 3-3 at Panthers 1-5. We just talked about the Panthers. They're in a free fall. They are in the midst of. They would like the number 1 pick, please. The Bucks.
Look, you lose your family, but you get a dub over the Panthers. So really, who can?
Well, and you just lost to Mr. Trubisky and the Steelers.
People got so mad at me on social media because I was joking about Tom Brady ditching his family to go 8-9.
It was true. Why are people mad? It's just
because
truth.
No, they weren't mad about the part where I said he ditched his family or I said he's going to die on the field. They were mad about the part where I said they were going to go 8-9.
Yeah,
because that's the kind of people we're dealing with here.
It was why I was in Pittsburgh last weekend with my wife and some friends.
And you gave Mitch your energy.
I did. Mitch was there. Went in at halftime due to an unfortunate injury to Kenny Pickett, their new rookie quarterback. And as I were going to the airport, at the highway you can see this beautifully into the Pittsburgh Stadium, and it was just I was watching the game on my phone. And I could see it was they're all leaving because Mitch delivered them a W. And so it was a beautiful thing. But I think the first 3 we were all in agreement. The Bucks are probably gonna take that one.
Wait,
that said,
who's quarterback for the Panthers this week?
Mayfield is out.
Darnold's still out, right?
Darnold's still out.
So is it our XFL hero that's taking over?
I think so.
Panthers.
Okay, all right, I'm gonna put here.
This is it. They got rid of Rule. They got rid of Robbie Anderson. They have excised everything they need to do. This is it. This is the XFL hero ball. It's going to happen. It's not, but I'm just going to say it.
Falcons 3-3 at Bengals 3-3. The Falcons might be the most interesting bad team just by the way they are running their offense. They are just consistently fun to watch despite the fact that they have a big talent deficit. And the Bengals, they're my big bet for my fantasy team. I've got Joe Burrow and T.Y. Higgins, and so when they're not performing, nor does my fantasy team, they've been on the mend.
Yeah.
They've found something to get going, but I don't like their coach. I don't like their offense. They have immensely talented players, and so I just feel like you can't rely on the Bengals, and I feel like the Falcons are set up for a really fun upset.
The Falcons are in a weird space. No one thought anything of a Marcus Mariota-led team going into it, and there's no reason you should have. But they are playing weirdly interesting football.
Yes.
And I feel like the Bengals are still reeling at this point and have not found their footing yet. This could be the game where they do that, but until I see otherwise, I kind of want to go with the Falcons' momentum.
Is that where you're at, Rob?
So you always have a few teams every year that you're like, whatever I pick, they will do the opposite. This is just who they're going to be. It is when I'm like, the Bengals don't seem, and they post a win. But I think I'm going to go with the Bengals because I just I continue to believe you can't have collapsed this completely.
They're part of my fantasy team, and so I have to do that. But all right, I will notice here, Alex Falcons Rob, Patrick. Bengals, Lions.
I don't get any points for any of this. I'm just
No,
doing
but we're
it for
going to
fun.
note this. We'll make sure and put this here.
On the other hand, though, all those ads got me thinking, what if we put some real money on it? Huh, gang?
right.
Wouldn't you feel like you're part of it?
Lions 1-4 at Cowboys 4-2. I believe Dak Prescott is coming back.
Even if he
this
wasn't,
week.
I would still pick Cowboys.
Yes, the Lions are quickly entering.
Are they swooning?
I think like
The swoon is the gun?
they're the fun bad team is like quickly becoming. I think you're just a bad team.
We're headed
and,
for a
like,
grim Thanksgiving.
They're going to win 6 home games and none of the rest of their season.
Yeah.
And they're at Dallas, so they're definitely
Which
not
is about
winning
where
this
they
one.
should be for this year.
Yeah.
Like, the thing is, they're regressing to, like, they do seem like a team on the upswing. They're still not good.
No, but they are scoring like 40 points a game somehow. It's just that they're also getting outscored 45 every game.
just their defense is just
But
atrocious.
here's the thing, though. Like, if the Cowboys look moribund again after weeks of looking really sharp, it's going to really. I think it'll raise questions about like, what is happening with coaching
I don't.
around like their relation with Dak.
Yeah, I'm with you, but at the same time, they were playing the Eagles last week, and the Eagles are legit.
Yeah.
and they put a lot of stress on like any offense or defense.
Yeah, and they went hard at Cooper Rush, which Cooper Rush is a game manager, and like he's a
It's
good
remarkable
one.
that he won 3 games.
Totally, and that's the thing. He did as well as a backup could be asked to do.
Right. He saved a season that essentially should have been over.
Yeah.
And now they'll come back and still be relevant. And they have Micah Parsons, who essentially is like a Aaron Donald level, can take over a game and win it for you.
Not to mention the Diggs brother, the cornerback.
Yes.
Like that dude fucking is a ball hawk, and I think as much as I am anti-Cowboys in just about every aspect of my life, they will win this game.
Yeah, I agree. All right, Giants 5-1 at Jaguars 2-4. That's a weird one. I cannot bet against the Giants at this point. I just won't.
I've been burned a lot doing that.
Yeah, I feel like the Jaguars are like this close though.
I think Trevor Lawrence is the real deal. I think eventually they will get there.
Yeah,
But
they're not there yet.
they're just it's a mess. It's a messy team right now. And it's just the Giants are weirdly like I have no love for the Giants, but they're just a fun. They're like what I wanted the Bears to be. Not this good. I wouldn't want it to have been 5-1, frankly. But like
They've got kind of 2018 Bears vibes, honestly, which is like
with
they're
like
just
no
kind of-
talent.
Yeah,
Like they're like running Saquon in the
I don't know,
Wildcat.
you see flashes of you see flashes of it still with Saquon.
Yes.
Where it's like,
Well,
yep.
he is
Yeah.
almost as good as he was in his early years, and you just keep hoping and praying.
His early years. This is like his 4th year.
Yeah.
I know, but running backs
But-
like
but he was also
like,
majorly
and the injuries.
injured.
and he's
Yeah.
two major, and like one of those injuries was at a Bears game.
Yeah.
And so.
They
so
didn't pick up the option for Daniel Jones. That's how little they think of him.
I think Daniel Jones is going to have his best year yet, and they will still be the smart thing to do. Will probably to sign him to like a 1-year or 2-year deal.
Yeah.
Do not give him a major extension. Still get a quarterback, and then try and redshirt them while
Totally.
they figure out the rest of the team.
Daniel Jones will have 2 very mediocre years for the Denver Broncos in about a year or 2.
He'll be a fine backup quarterback, just
Yeah.
like Mitch Trubisky. Colts 3-1 at Titans 3-2.
Can we just not pick this one?
No. The point of this podcast is to
No,
have
I
I'll
know.
go
It's just like trying to pick
Titans.
between sand
Right,
and slightly
okay.
different sand.
sand or anti-sand. All right. I am. The Colts have won some weird games and they don't make any sense. And I'm gonna have to. I need to try and get ahead of Rob, so I'm going to pick the Colts.
I don't know what the Titans are this year. Like I
they're-
can't find an identity for them.
I think they're at the end of their run. Like the Tannehill thing is about to be over.
Derrick Henry.
it
is
should
out.
have
Derrick Henry
Which
has
sucks
has
because
lost some
he
of the
was-
juice.
That foot injury seemed to like spell the beginning and end of him just being like Superman out there.
Yeah, and so that's kind of the end of that. But you have to pick, Alex. You're forced.
Where are they?
In Tennessee.
You know, I'm going to go Titans. They're just coming off the bye. I feel like they can probably pull it out.
Packers 3-3. We only have 11 minutes left, so we cannot get derailed by this as much as we'd
okay.
like to. We will have to, Robin. You and I will have to have the
Packers Bears.
No, this is. But just talking about the Packers
Yeah.
quietly imploding the third end of the season is delightful. Packers 3-3 at Commanders 2-4.
Let them fight. I still believe.
I
I
still
still believe
think
the Packers are a
I
better
still
team.
think they have
and,
enough to do that.
Yeah.
You could tell me that they were bringing in a Pop Warner team that was mostly just like dudes off the street, and I would still pick against the Commanders.
And I think what is the best possible outcome for this is that they win, but in like the most pathetic and uninspiring way possible. So you get
And
that-
Rodgers yells at people.
Yes, you get
Yeah.
the W, but you come out of it not feeling better.
Oh,
about the
it's
team.
going to be the worst 13-6 victory you've ever seen.
Jets 4-2 at Broncos 2-4.
Jets, baby.
Jets!
Yeah. Okay. All right.
Finally.
Fly!
No.
Jets,
no,
baby.
no
Love
comment.
the Jets. I don't, but love the Jets.
They're like the Giants. Let's have some fun. Texans 1-3-1 at Raiders 1-4. The Texans who just fired Jack Easterby, the former Patriots religious guy that then went on to become the head of football operations at the Texans. They just fired him because he's a snake oil
Because he
salesman.
sucks.
Yeah, it's very weird what happened there. The Texans are bad. The Raiders are 1-4, but they are not a bad team. They have been in. I don't think they're 1-4 bad.
No.
And they are not lose to the Texans bad.
I am genuinely mystified by the Raiders at every turn. Just the way they are and like the way they are bad. They should not be bad with the talent that they have, and they have found a way, and that way is Josh McDaniels.
Yeah. I agree. I'm still going with the Raiders because I cannot pick in good conscience the Texans.
Are they in Las Vegas?
Yes.
I'll be a coward and I'll go with the Raiders.
Yeah, I'm
Yes.
gonna cowardly pick the Raiders as well.
Yes. Seahawks 3-3. The Geno Smith saga continues. The Geno Smith Chronicles continue at Chargers 4-2. That basically shouldn't be an at. Like the Chargers don't play in a stadium in which their fans show up. They need to move back to San Diego as soon. Some billionaire needs to step in and move them back to San Diego. And the Seahawks, Geno Smith has been like surprisingly competent and interesting, and they just have a really bad defense. And I think Brandon Staley, ex-Bears coach, I think might be a bad coach. And the Chargers, I think, have an unbelievably talented quarterback, despite being 4-2, that they're like kind of wasted.
They're gonna waste him the way that the Titans are wasting Derrick Henry. Like they're
Yes.
just gonna beat him to death.
That said, I still think the Chargers probably beat the Seahawks.
I think it will, but I think it's gonna be way closer than it has any right to be.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, I'm gonna pick the Chargers, but I will regret that pick as the Seahawks like knock on the door of victory. I'm
Seahawks
like, shit,
ascendant.
I kind of knew Geno was gonna get this done.
Chiefs 4-2 at the 49ers 3-3.
Chiefs.
Yep. Steelers. The Mitch. Sorry.
We had nothing to say about that game. Just Chiefs.
I'm sorry. The Mitch Trubisky Steelers 2-4 at the Dolphins.
Wait, is Kenny not playing? Can you pick it?
Wait.
He he went out of the game with a concussion, so it's possible that Pickett could come back, but I don't know.
Tua is concussion.
He's out.
He is out.
He's
He's
out of the
practicing,
protocol.
so he is likely to plays this week. And that said, I think Tyreek Hill had like a hamstring injury, so they're a little hobbled in a number of ways. So this game,
They still got Jalen Waddle though.
They still have Jalen Waddle, and they have a pretty good defense. So I'm gonna go. Look, I know that Mitch won that game. He beat Tom Brady, but I've seen this game before personally.
I know.
I am not going to bet on Mitch. I can't do it.
No, that dude is not going to throw a single pass over 12 yards that entire game. Miami will take it.
Yeah. Do you want to bet on Mitch?
Where's it at?
It's in Miami.
No, I do not want to bet on that.
All right, final game, Monday Night Football. The Chicago Bears,
How did that happen?
2-4, because they are one of the biggest markets in
Da,
the
da, da,
league.
da.
The Bears at the Patriots, 3-3. Somehow we ended up with Alex Navarro's.
Oh yeah, me, number one Patriots
New
fan
England
now.
Patriots, MAGA man himself, out here up against the Chicago Bears.
man.
And the Patriots, it is still.
Bailey Zapp.
I believe
Zappy.
Mac Jones could come back this week, but Bailey Zappi, I could absolutely see Bill Belichick saying, I don't give a shit about you, Mac Jones. I'm just going to play with the guy who's won us the last couple of games, because Mac Jones looked pretty bad in the first.
I don't know that Zappy is the person I would point to and say, you won us that game. I'm going to say, you didn't lose us that game.
Look, as JZGA says, let the Zap man cook.
I will not.
But I cannot pick the Bears.
I
and I
can't
will
pick
not.
the.
I will not.
Is it at New England?
Hang on, where's it at?
It's in New England.
Yeah, the Patriots are going to win that somehow.
What
It's
if
gonna
they
be
get
the
bear
ugliest
weather?
goddamn game you've ever seen, but they will win.
What if we get bear weather?
Shut the fuck up.
All right, Patriots.
All right, well, that is going to bring it to the end of this episode of sports. In the meantime, you can follow Waypoint on Twitter, at Waypoint on Twitch, at twitch.tv/Waypoint. You all know this that are watching. This is for the audio version. On YouTube at youtube.com/WaypointVice. And our writing is at waypoint.vice.com. This episode is premiering ad-free on Waypoint Plus, which you can subscribe to and gain access to early episodes, exclusive episodes, ad-free episodes, and more at waypointplus.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Patrick Klepek. Alex, where can people follow you? What do you got going on?
Oh, wow, man, what do I have going on? I wasn't ready. I don't have anything prepared. So I am Alex_Navarro on Twitter. I am part of Nextlander, the trio, with Vinny Caravella and Brad Shoemaker. We are at Nextlander at Twitch, at YouTube, Twitter, wherever else. And we have the Nextlander podcast, as well as the Nextlander Watchcast, which is now our...
You're doing Carpenter right now.
Yeah, we're in the middle of our Carpenter month.
Where are you in the... So I got the newsletter, and so I know you're watching The Thing.
We have a newsletter?
Yes.
It's very good.
We have blog posts. That's like a newsletter.
Well, I think the blog posts go out as a newsletter.
To who?
Patreon
Patreon sends emails. That's right. Yeah, I don't subscribe to those.
Yes.
I don't subscribe to my own emails.
What other ones have you watched? We just did Escape from New York.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we're sticking mostly to the Horror Masters horror stuff.
I know you're doing Halloween at the end of the month.
Yeah, so we did The Thing already. We did Prince of Darkness, which was one our patrons voted on.
An underrated Carpenter.
Yeah, it's pretty good. It's pretty solid. And we did In the Mouth of Madness, is one of my favorites.
That's a great movie.
I love that one. And then so They Live is up for next week, and then Halloween is going to debut on Halloween.
Hell yes. Well, make sure and go check that out. Rob, where can the people follow you?
At Rob Zachney.
And until next time, fuck capitalism and bear down. But we're not actually leaving. That was just me doing the outro
Sports!
for the podcast. Thanks everyone for tuning in. For Save Point, we raised $20,508.60. We ended with 69 cents. Do not donate a dime.
No more donations till tomorrow.
No, you can do it after we finish this.
Okay.
Because after this, we're going to have the mods coming up, continuing to stream. Kato, can we tease anything about what's happening?
Yeah, we got the whole schedule right here. Next up is going to be a segment of GeoGuessr, which is going to be real fun. Then we got Spelunky 2, Phasmophobia, and a Resident Evil randomizer to end up.
Oh, that sounds fun. We should get Rob to play a Resident Evil randomizer. You had so much fun playing it linearly. Well, that's great. Do you know how long they're going to go?
They're going till 3 a.m. Eastern.
3 a.m. Eastern.
In the morning?
God, I hope I have left Rob's hotel room at that point and we stopped drinking, and I'm not doing that. But you can watch all of that through the end of today. We will be back tomorrow at 10 a.m. Sharp Eastern. Well, I think we're starting. There was a little leaked Kingdom Hearts animation, and I think we're not going to have the whole crew. This is not a Lore Reasons reunion tour, but I might get some of the people together. We might sit on a couch and we might watch that leaked Kingdom Hearts stuff. We might play a little Uno. We might play a little, what's that game?
Sheriff of Nottingham.
Sheriff of Nottingham. A little Dead by Daylight. A bunch of other stuff happening tomorrow. So please tune in tomorrow. Thanks for all the support today. It has been wonderful to have raised all this money for National Network of Abortion Funds so far. Shout outs to Kato. You've done wonderful work today. This has been a really good day of streaming. A lot of work has gone in for what they've done, what Ren has done, and other folks we've had supporting us to allow this stuff to happen. Alex, thank you for coming by.
Thank you for having me.
And I'm glad.
And Natalie was here. She made sure, she said there were too many characters in the quarry, and she fixed that situation.
Good work, Natalie.
She said,
this is too confusing.
Can I ask? Okay, so in the sequence of in the quarry where it's Emma, right?
Yeah.
And she is off on the island. Jacob has left her, and she can look in a bag or she can open a trapdoor. Do you remember this sequence?
I remember the sequence.
Did you open the bag?
I think we opened the bag.
We did not open the bag.
Okay.
And then Emma died.
So Natalie, fourth dimensional chest herself into thinking the trapdoor has obviously got a monster behind it, but they would not think that someone would just open the trapdoor, and so that would be the safe move because it'd be so unexpected.
Also,
That's not how anything works.
The character was eulogizing herself.
That was very funny.
So that's going to do it for Save Point. Day 1, we got 2 more days to go. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. We will be back tomorrow. Kato, they have changed the goal to $60,545.69. All I ask is that when we come back tomorrow at 10 a.m., it does not have to be at 60,000. Oh, that would be delightful. It just has to be at 0.69. Just
Yes.
do that for me.
Only dollar amounts.
If
no
it's
cents.
not, when we get here at 10 a.m. or like 10:05, 10:10, sometimes 5 or 10 minutes later, I have already downloaded Saw the video game onto that machine.
Oh no.
I hacked the PS2 again.
Oh.
If that is not 69 cents, we will start this stream
He
with Saw the
keeps
video game.
creating, like, he keeps, like, making bits where, like, Saw's just going to happen. We have to keep pretending, like, oh boy, I hope that doesn't happen. But it's just going to happen. It's just going to happen.
God, we never got into you being the sports video game reviewer, which is like such a unique role in the video game industry. We'll have to have Alex on another time to talk about that.
I'd be happy to.
Until then, fuck capitalism, go home, support the National Network of Abortion Funds. Goodbye.